Chapter 885. Jiang Tian nodded slightly. This information was not found in their divine souls. Because they had self-destructed their divine souls at the last moment, unwilling to let Jiang Tian find any useful information. But a golden core expert is too difficult to cultivate. As far as I know, the Starry Palace has a history of hundreds of years, but there hasn't been a single golden core expert before. Taoist Li Longyuan of heaven and earth was the first. Xiao Beishan frowned. Because the resources consumed are too huge, this small world may not be able to support it. The Qiao family's Hall of Divine Craftsmen, as well as many other families that refine weapons, beasts, and elixirs, have been asked by the Starry Palace to hand over many magic weapons and treasures, as well as tens of thousands of spirit stones as annual tributes. The Starry Palace used these tributes to exchange for resources with other hidden sections. They want to cultivate a few golden cores. But how can we hand them over? You can go to other hidden sects to earn money. The world is so vast. Jiang Tian smiled. The problem is that the trading rights between the hidden sects are now monopolized by the Starry Palace. Xiao Beishan spread out his hands. The teleportation array needs a crystal array pestle. And that mysterious array pattern is only controlled by the Starry Palace. And the teleportation array is usually guarded by disciples, so it's heavily guarded. It seems that something big has happened to the Starry Palace in the past few days. The disciples have been summoned to the sect for a meeting, so we have the opportunity to rob them today. Jiang Tian's heart moved. It seemed that the news of the death of Taoist Qing Xian had reached the Starry Palace, and they were discussing countermeasures. Xiao Beishan said with a dejected face. In short, we can't go to other hidden sects' small worlds through the teleportation array. I heard that the treasures we refine are very valuable in some small worlds, but they're cheap here. Xiao Yingluo also pouted and said bitterly. I've lived on this continent for 16 years and have never taken a step out. It's so boring. It'd be great to go to Earth to play. Yes, I heard that although Earth lacks spiritual energy, it's not small, and there are many strange things. It must be fun. Stinky Monkey's eyes were also shining, his face full of yearning. Beside him, Yi Tianren was very surprised. For thousands of years, countless cultivators on Earth had worked tirelessly and diligently. All of them hoped that one day, they would be able to ascend to the Yin sect world. But he didn't expect that the immortals here actually wanted to go to Earth to play. I understand. Jiang Tian nodded. The Starry Sky Palace was a bit closed off from the outside world and had a high degree of centralization of power. Furthermore, it had already formed a huge rentier class, and the social hierarchy was seriously solidified. It was no wonder. The floating heavenly star continent was ultimately too small to support a vigorous cultivation civilization. However, it had already formed a cultivation country with the Starry Sky Palace as its core. There were 4 major cities, 3 major sects, and more than 30 small sections. In this place, martial artists belonged to the lower class. Only deity realm martial artists were considered middle class. Cultivators, on the other hand, were a nobleman. Once someone offended them, they would be severely punished. And the number 1 cultivation sect, the Starry Sky Palace, had supreme power. The palace master, heaven and earth Taoist, Li Longyuan, was like an ancient emperor. His words carried enormous weight. The city lords and sect masters of all the cities had to be conferred titles and serve him. The city where Qingyang town was located was called Border City. It was the smallest of the 4 major cities, with a population of 1 million. Qingyang town was just one of the many cities and towns under its jurisdiction. At this moment, Qingyang town was in sight. The town had a population of 100,000. A straight bluestone road led to the outside of the town. The buildings were simple and unadorned, in the style of the Han and Tang dynasties. Wine flags were swaying. Inns, restaurants, blacksmiths, medical centers, and brothels were all present. It was very prosperous. Occasionally, someone would ride a strong horse and gallop past. Standing here, Jiang Tian felt as if he had entered the land of peach blossoms written by Tao Yuanming. But thinking about it, it was not strange. For hundreds of years, this place had been isolated from the world. The people inside could not go out, and the people outside could not come in. It was like a parallel universe. Only those at the top of the two worlds could reach the other big world. That was why this ancient style was maintained. But immortal Master Jiang, my father is cowardly and has never supported us attacking the people of the Starry Sky Palace. Please don't reveal anything. Otherwise, we will be in trouble. Qiao Beishan begged bitterly. We will be beaten to death. The stinky monkey's face was also full of fear, and his voice was trembling. Don't worry. I won't say anything. But you can't reveal my identity to anyone for the time being. Jiang Tian withdrew his thoughts and smiled. Understood. They quickly arrived at Qingyang town along the Bluestone Road. Along the way, Jiang Tian found that almost all the peddlers here had cultivation above the inner strength. On Earth, they could easily control a city and intimidate a region. But here, they were like carps crossing the river. After a while, they came to an extraordinary shop. Above the lintel, there was a black plaque gilded with gold. A few words were written on it, Divine Craftsman Hall. The shop was 5 stories high. From time to time, cultivators came and went to buy magical weapons, sell refining materials, or commission others to make. It was very lively. They all used a kind of low-level crystal, the 5-essence crystal, which was more common in the cultivation world. But the spiritual qi was much more abundant than the ordinary chalcedony on Earth. If taken to Earth, one piece would be worth millions. The backyard was very wide, about 100 acres. It was simple and practical with green bricks and gray tiles. There was a faint tinkling sound, and from time to time, smoke and fire appeared. It seemed to be the place where refining was done. Jiang Tian scanned the area with his divine sense, and immediately, he encountered a spiritual power restriction, which blocked his divine sense. The Qiao family is autocratic, plagiarism is not allowed. This restriction showed a few words in Jiang Tian's mind. Interesting. Jiang Tian smiled. It seemed that the heavenly star space had a patent protection system. This restriction should have been set up by a late-stage Foundation establishment cultivator. Jiang Tian's divine sense could completely penetrate it. But Jiang Tian still didn't try. First, it would cause unnecessary misunderstandings. Second, in terms of refining, how many people in the universe could surpass him? Mr. Jiang, this is my house. Please. Qiao Beishan made a gesture of invitation and let Jiang Tian in. Ah Shan, Yingluo, what have you been doing? As soon as they entered the door, a scolding voice came. A man with a fair complexion, wearing a long silk robe, and 3 locks of beard walked out from the backyard. He was about 40 years old, with white hair. With his hands behind his back, he glared and scolded with a stern voice. Instead of staying at home and preparing for the Heavenly Star Palace's outer sect examination, you'll regret it for the rest of your life if you fail. I've worked so hard to refine weapons and provide for your cultivation. Isn't it so that you can become part of the palace one day? Jiang Tian scanned with his divine sense. This person was also a transcendent realm cultivator. His hands were slender, but there were deep calluses on his fingertips. His body exuded a faint smell of smoke. He should be an expert in refining weapons. Dad, I'm not going to take the Heavenly Star Palace's outer sect exam. I don't want to be a bully. Qiao Yingluo pouted and said disdainfully. Qiao Huayin was slightly stunned. Then, he showed some sadness and said with emotion, what do you know? In today's world, other than bullying others, you're being bullied. There's no other way. Qiao Beishan picked up a teapot, lifted the lid, and gulped down the tea. He wiped his mouth and said casually, Dad, why are you an outer sect disciple? Dad, why should I be an outer disciple of the Starry Sky Palace? Isn't it good for me to inherit your skills? When I passed away, I left behind my last words. The skills passed down by my ancestors can't be lost. Slap. Qiao Huayin raised his hand and slapped him. There was a loud bang. Qiao Beishan was slapped to the ground like a toad. No, to be exact, he sank directly into the marble floor. Next to him, Lu Dehu and Qiao Yingluo were so scared that they trembled and felt their hearts ache. Qiao Huayin shouted angrily. Bastard, how dare you talk back to your old man? You're quite capable. Nowadays, what's better than being a public servant? That's an iron rice bowl. The salary of an outer sect disciple of the Heavenly Star Palace is equivalent to the salary of hundreds of workers in the Divine Craftsman Hall. Do you think we have too many crystals? Jiang Tian and Yi Tianren looked at each other and smiled. This scene was too common in the secular world on Earth. Parents forcing their children. Dad, it's okay for you to hit me, but isn't this laying the floor tiles? Qiao Beishan climbed up from the pit. His face was covered in dust and the marble particles were rolling down. He complained gloomily, Dad, after all, there are guests here. Can't you give me some face? I'm an adult, after all. Only then did Qiao Huayin notice the presence of Jiang Tian and Xiao Yingluo. He quickly bowed and said with a professional smile, Oh, it turns out that there are distinguished guests. Old Xiao, I'm sorry for my lack of manners. Please forgive me. It's okay. Boss Qiao, you're too polite. Jiang Tian stood up and returned the greeting. Jiang Tian returned the greeting. Qiao Huayin poured a cup of tea for Jiang Tian and said with a smile, May I know where you're from and what's your Taoist name? My surname is Jiang, I'm an itinerant cultivator. I happen to wander here. This is my disciple, Old Yi. Jiang Tian said lightly. Immortal Master Jiang is an immortal state expert, so powerful. Xiao Yingluo said with admiration. An itinerant cultivator. Ha, so you're an expert. Qiao Huayin was still smiling, but he was secretly disappointed. In this place, itinerant cultivators had no status, even if their cultivation was high. Only the cultivators of the Tianqing Palace could. However, under Qiao Yingluo's persuasion, the stingy Qiao Huayin finally allowed Jiang Tian to stay. Anyway, Qiao Huayin's family business was not small and did not lack Jiang Tian's food. There were also a few clean and elegant guest rooms. Immortal Master Jiang, on Earth, does every house have electricity? Isn't it only Thunder Foundation establishment experts who can create electricity? Do the women there really not need a matchmaker to fall in love with someone and choose their own husband? Why can the people and animals in this magical artifact called mobile phone move? Could it be a very advanced mirage array? Xiao Yingluo was very interested in the things on Earth. Every day, in addition to helping Jiang Tian clean up the house, serve food, and take Jiang Tian to wander around the town, she pestered Jiang Tian to ask him all kinds of questions. Chapter 886. You don't have to call me Master Immortal. Just call me Big Brother. Jiang Tian liked this girl's naivety very much and patiently explained, Earth belongs to another civilization. It uses technology as its foundation. This kind of technology is actually a bit like refining and formations. It pays attention to the use of external material resources and is very weak in itself. For the past few days, Jiang Tian had flipped through several bookstores in town, mainly to read books on geography and geography. He read very quickly and carefully learned about geography, rivers, minerals, spirit herbs, spirit insects, fire seeds, strange water, demon beasts, and so on, as well as the history of Heavenly Star's small world. As for sects and forces, Jiang Tian didn't care too much. Jiang Tian was now at the first level of the foundation establishment stage, but his physique and cultivation method were extremely powerful and could kill all the powerhouses at the foundation establishment stage. On this continent, he was almost invincible. Even facing the Heavenly Star Palace Master Li Longyuan, Heaven and Earth Taoist, he was not afraid. Jiang Tian was shocked when he saw this. In this Heavenly Star small world, there were many demon beasts, minerals, strange water, and strange fire that only existed in the cultivation world. It was just that their names were different. If the hypothesis that Star World was a part of ancient Earth was true, based on this, it could be inferred that ancient Earth must also be a cultivation planet. It was a cultivation planet with rich spiritual energy, spirit herbs like smoke and sea, demon beasts running rampant, and immortals walking on Earth. However, after the spiritual energy on Earth was exhausted, spirit herbs, spirit beasts, and so on gradually died out. But in Heavenly Star's small world, they were still preserved, and because of the extreme instability of the spiritual energy, there were many evolutions. On this day, in the guest room of the Chiao family, it seems that this trip to Heavenly Star's small world is not in vain. I will definitely get a lot of benefits. Jiang Tian, dressed in white, sat cross-legged in front of the window, flipping through the pages and sighing with relief. At this moment, suddenly, there was a burst of dust on the street. Everyone ran wildly, and some people shouted as if they had seen a wolf, "Oh no! Si Quan is here! Run! Oh my God, the city patrol department is here!" Qiao Huayin, who was sitting in the back hall, had a drastic change in expression. With a wave of his hands, the two doors swung shut despite the lack of wind. Voila! Outside the door, a large wooden board hung down from the lintel, with the words, "Permanent Closure," written on it. At the same time, the many crafting furnaces, cutting knives, and reactors in the courtyard all stopped after a wail. Many master craftsmen and skilled craftsmen all burrowed into the hole in an instant. The City Patrol Department was a city management department specially set up by Fang Jingxiang, the city lord of Desolate City. They were led by a few constables from the Department of Investigation Services, who had no rank at all. Thousands of rogue cultivators were employed, but none of them were paid a regular salary. Usually, they relied on collecting coins from small vendors and the carriages and aircrafts parked everywhere to make a living. Not only would they be able to live a comfortable life, but they would also be able to generate income for Border City. More than 10 experts of the City Patrol Department rode on black hounds, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. These hounds had absorbed enough spiritual energy and had evolved to the extreme. They were as tall as healthy horses and calves. They were ferocious. Their claws were like steel hooks, and their white canine teeth were like daggers. Long drool hung from their mouths. They were very intimidating. More than 10 experts from the Department of Investigation Services were assigned to be the leaders. They were all in the late stage of the Qi refinement stage, and their clothes were relatively uniform. The embroidery on their chest patches was not the red-crowned crane, pheasant, peacock, or heron of the civil officials, nor was it the 5-piece qilin, white tiger, lion, rhinoceros, or other ferocious beasts. Instead, it was a very distinctive fierce dog. In addition, there were also some rogue cultivators who had dragons and tigers tattooed on their arms. Their eyes were ferocious and murderous. At first glance, one could tell that they were not easy to deal with. Their clothes were not uniform, but they all wore an aqua-green waistcoat with a big white circle in front of their chests. Inside the circle, there was a big black word "Association" written in large black. The arrival of the City Patrol Department caught many small vendors off guard. They hurriedly packed up the things they were selling and ran away, trying to escape unscathed. However, the association officers were very experienced in fighting. They had already occupied all the key positions and blocked all the escape routes. Each of them waved a type of thunder and lightning magic weapon and hit anyone they saw. With just a pestle, anyone who came into contact with it would fall down, twitching on the ground as if they had been hit by a pendulum. The City Patrol Department members were like bandits entering a village. They robbed everything they saw, whether it was crystals, magic weapons, spirit grains, spirit plants, spirit herbs, or small spirit beasts. The people who were robbed were angry but did not dare to say anything. Sigh. When will these days come to an end? Qiao Huayin walked into the courtyard and sighed deeply. His face was full of sorrow. In the guest room, Yi Tianren was stunned. He whispered to Jiang Tian. This is the world of immortals. This is hell on earth. Vulgar, unbearably vulgar. Such a scene was not uncommon on earth. It was clearly a city management team bullying small merchants and peddlers. Do you think that the cultivation world is otherworldly? Jiang Tian chuckled and said sarcastically, the cultivation world is 10 times crueler and bloodier than earth. At this moment, the door of the Hall of Gods was kicked to smithereens. Then, a group of city patrol department members rushed in like a tide. The leader of the group was riding a black hound. He swaggered into the backyard and roared sternly. Qiao Huayin, you seem to have started work. It's time to pay the spiritual energy repair fee. Captain Ma, you must be joking. We have stopped work for 3 months. How could we have started work? Qiao Huayin stepped forward with a face full of joy. He cupped his hands towards Captain Ma, who was in the lead, and handed over a large cloth bag from his wide sleeve. You have worked hard. This is a small gift. Buy some tea with the officers. Xiao Yingluo glared at her father in disdain. She seemed to think that he was too much of an accomplice. Xiao Beishan clenched his fists, but in the end, he could only swallow his anger and endure. At this time, a city patrol department member walked quickly into the many weapon refining rooms and shouted, Captain, the reactor and furnace are all hot. They have started work. Ma Liang tossed the cloth bag full of crystal stones in his hand and sneered. The purification array in your Hall of Gods is not up to standard. Without the qualification certificate, you can't start work. His face turned cold and his eyes were as sharp as a knife. He shouted, work without permission. According to the law, you should be beheaded. Swish. Swish. Many of the city patrol department members and assistants pulled out their long swords and knives. Suddenly, a cold light flashed and the temperature of the entire hall plummeted. Qiao Huayin was so scared that he knelt on the ground with a thud. He trembled and said with a pale face. Captain Ma, please be merciful. Please excuse me. The tribute division of the border city has received our tribute for 10 years. I still owe the tribute division 3 years' worth of tribute. If I don't pay, they will arrest me. That's their business. I can't control it. Ma Liang smiled disdainfully and said coldly. I only know that if you work in violation of regulations, you will be beheaded. Don't you know that the city lord wants green mountains and clear water, blue sky and white clouds? The spiritual energy has been polluted. How can we cultivate and advance? How can we become a third-level hidden sect? Can you be reasonable? Do you want to force us to our deaths? Xiao Yingluo was so angry that her face turned red. She shouted, we are human beings, not your slaves. Xiao Huayin, you look average. I didn't expect your daughter to be so pretty. Captain Ma Liang smiled and said. How about this? Let her have a drink with me tonight. If she has a good time, we won't talk about this anymore. My daughter is still young and immature. Please forgive her this time. Xiao Huayin was so scared that his face turned pale. He quickly took out a short sword from his pocket and stuffed it into Ma Liang's hands. It's a quasi-spiritual treasure. I spent 3 years to make it. It's worth 55,000 crystals. Please do me a favor. Okay, since you are filial, I won't make things difficult for you. Your temper is too bad, you have to teach her a lesson. Captain Ma smiled and drove the giant dog out of the door. Captain Ma, don't worry. I will teach her a lesson. Come here often. Take care. Xiao Huayin heaved a sigh of relief and got up to send him off. His face was full of joy and he spoke humbly. Originally, this matter would have been settled. Xiao Huayin would have to pay to avoid disaster. Captain Ma would collect the black money and go to the brothel to have a good time. This kind of thing had happened countless times in Qingyang town and the border cities. It always ended like this. However, when Captain Ma rode the black dog to the door of the courtyard, Suddenly, his malicious gaze fell on Jiang Tian and Yi Tianren, who were standing in front of the window. His face darkened. He smiled maliciously and said coldly, "You're right. Old Xiao, these two look unfamiliar. Are they foreigners? Where are they from? Do they have temporary residence documents?" Chapter 887. The two of them are itinerant cultivators. They just arrived in town and haven't had the time to apply for temporary residence documents. Qiao Huayin quickly smiled and said humbly, "Sir, look. I've already paid my respects to you. Please do us a favor. I'll take them to apply for temporary residence documents in the afternoon." "That won't do. You know that there are spirit gathering formations in our town and city. It costs a lot." Captain Ma kicked him away. He pointed the dog whip at Jiang Tian and said coldly, "The two of you, and the two of you. The two of you, and this big black dog, entered the town without paying the crystal stones and obtaining the temporary residence documents. You are living here illegally. Either you pay me 30,005 won crystals, or I'll put you in jail and chop off your heads." In the Heavenly Star small world, Star Capital, Nuteo, Floating Spear, and many other towns and cities had spirit gathering formations of varying sizes. The spirit chi there was much more abundant than in the wild. Moreover, the spirit chi in the cities had been purified by the formations. There was no miasma, which was very beneficial to cultivation. Of course, the spirit chi was the most abundant in the Heavenly Star Palace, Heartless Sect, Giant Sword Sect, Demon Subduing Temple, and other large sections. After all, they occupied famous mountains, great rivers, and blessed lands. They also had more magical spirit gathering formations. However, the Heavenly Star Palace and the other large sects had stricter requirements for disciples. Not everyone could enter. Even if you had crystals, you couldn't enter if you didn't have the talent. Therefore, for itinerant cultivators with average talent, living in the big cities was still their best choice. Of course, the spirit gathering formations cost a lot of money. The big cities wouldn't do a good deed for free. Residents had to spend a lot of money to buy a house. Those who came to live temporarily also had to pay a certain amount of 5 won crystals to obtain a temporary residence document. To absorb spirit chi, one had to breathe. Therefore, whether it was to buy a house in the town or to obtain a temporary residence document, the cost of crystals was called breathing tax by martial artists and cultivators. Breathing is a tax. Immortals don't have freedom at all. Back then, when Celestial Yi heard this news, he was stupefied. It was as if he was listening to a heavenly book, not daring to believe it. Civilization at any level needs to rely on resources. There's no exception. Jiang Tian sighed. In fact, the higher the level of the civilization, the crazier the consumption of resources, and the more aggressive they were. Voila! Several city patrol members immediately surrounded Jiang Tian and Li Wuyo. They coldly scolded, "Captain Ma has spoken. Why aren't you kneeling down and begging for mercy? Do you want to die? Where did this rogue cultivator ant come from? You don't know what's good for you. Hurry up and plead guilty. Ha, you dare to be arrogant with me? Don't provoke me. If you speak any more nonsense, I'll kill you." Jiang Tian stood in front of the window and sipped his tea. A faint killing intent flashed in his eyes. Originally, he wanted to capture the leader first to capture the bandits. He only wanted to kill the palace master of the Celestial Palace, Li Longyuan. He didn't expect to see all kinds of injustice as soon as he came to the town. It seems that this Heavenly Star small world is really rotten. Let's smash it. Hee, you dare to defy the law. You're courting death. Captain Ma's thunderous roar caused the wind to howl. The entire Hall of Divine Crafts and even the long street fell silent. Everyone was so shocked that their hearts raced. Their faces were pale, and they trembled. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Captain Ma, who patrolled the streets, had the nickname of Gui Jian Cho. He was also an outer disciple of the Celestial Palace and the brother-in-law of the Barren City's city lord. He killed people at the drop of a hat. Everyone had been bullied by him for more than 10 years. When did they have the slightest thought of resisting? Captain Ma, this immortal Master Jiang has the cultivation of the immortal state. You can't afford to offend him. Xiao Yingluo said angrily. Yingluo, shut up. How can you talk to Captain Ma like that? Go back. Xiao Huayin shouted at his daughter and then said boldly, this immortal Master Jiang is indeed quite capable. He may rise to a high position in the future. Why don't you leave some leeway for the old man and leave a way out for yourself? I'm enforcing the law. Who are you to criticize me? Captain Ma raised his dog whip and lashed it at Xiao Huayin. Xiao Huayin's skin was torn open, and he flew out with blood spurting out of his mouth. Captain Ma, why do you hit people at the drop of a hat? What crime have we committed? Xiao Yingluo helped her father up. Bean-sized tears rolled down her face as she stared at Captain Ma with resentment. Xiao Beishan, Lu Dehe, and a few other young weapon refiners stepped forward. They were furious and murderous. How dare you? If you dare to talk like that again, I'll burn down your weapon refining hall. I'll execute your whole family. A patrolling member shouted angrily. The Qiao family felt a chill in their hearts as they remembered Captain Ma's cruel means. Previously, he had taken a fancy to the daughter-in-law of the Li family, a wealthy alchemist family, and wanted to marry her. The Li family had complained and resisted, but the patrolling members had arrested them all in the name of causing trouble and executed their whole family. The Li family's daughter-in-law had also committed suicide after being humiliated. In Qingyang town, other than Mayor Lu Xing, he was the most difficult person to offend. He was simply a living king of hell. Captain Ma looked at Jiang Tian mockingly as if he was looking at an ant. He said disdainfully, "What bullshit, immortal master, I think he's just an ordinary person." Suddenly, a few traces of ridicule appeared on his face. Hey, maybe this kid is also a liar. And the Qiao family is just a hostage. We must arrest them all. At this time, Jiang Tian's divine aura was restrained and his true essence did not leak out at all. From the outside, he looked no different from an ordinary person. Xiao Yingluo was shocked and tears came out of her beautiful eyes. She thought desperately, who can save my family? This is really an unexpected disaster. She looked at Jiang Tian for help, hoping that Jiang Tian would help her. It was as if she was looking at a life-saving straw. That's fine. Let's start this bloody massacre by killing these bastards. Jiang Tian smiled coldly and stepped forward step by step. His eyes were as cold as a cold knife. Ha, kid, you're scared. Do you know the consequences of offending me? Are you going to kowtow to me? Captain Ma sat high on the back of the vicious dog, arrogant and arrogant. He said with a mocking face, but it's a bit late. I'm going to raise the price. 150,005 essence crystals and I'll spare your life. I'm wondering who gave you the courage to be so presumptuous in front of me. Jiang Tian walked closer, and suddenly let out a cold laugh, and directly attacked. Bang! Jiang Tian flicked his finger and a golden ray of light broke through the air. Bang! A bloody hole appeared in Captain Ma's chest and he rolled off the dog's back. His eyes were still wide open, full of shock and unwillingness, as if he couldn't believe that he would die in such a tragic way. The mutated evil dog bared its teeth and roared at Jiang Tian. You don't deserve to be a dog. The old dragon in the form of a big black dog slapped out with its paw and smashed the evil dog into pieces. Hiss! In an instant, everyone was dumbfounded and gasped as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. How could this young man be so bold as to attack an officer of the city patrol unit? Moreover, his cultivation was so powerful. Captain Ma was an immortal state warrior, but he was killed by Jiang Tian's finger. Even the members of the street patrol department did not realize what was going on. They stood there in a daze and looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief. They had done all kinds of evil and had never faced any resistance. Now, they couldn't come back to their senses. Fellow cultivator, where are you from? How could you obstruct law enforcement and kill people on the street? Are you a cultivator from the Heavenly Star Palace who came to the mortal world to gain experience? A member of the city patrol unit asked in a low voice. Although the Heavenly Star small world had an organizational structure similar to that of a political regime, it was still different from Earth. Although there was order in this world, the strong were still respected. With a powerful cultivation, one would have the right to speak. Many rogue cultivators who killed and robbed would be pardoned by the cities and sects as long as their cultivation was strong enough. Therefore, when they saw that Jiang Tian's cultivation was strong, they immediately changed the way they addressed him and gave in a little. What bullshit Heavenly Star Palace? I'm not a member of the Heavenly Star Palace, so I can't kill people. Jiang Tian smiled disdainfully and said, you give the money you plundered to these townspeople and kneel down to apologize. Otherwise, I will kill all of you and leave no one alive. An enormous pressure suddenly retreated. Many of the evil dogs were scared to the point that they lowered their heads and curled up. They staggered back and whimpered. The members of the city patrol unit were also frightened by Jiang Tian's monstrous murderous aura and stepped back subconsciously. Chapter 888. It took a few seconds for the patrol members to react and their faces turned furious. One of the transcendent state overlords raised his blade and shouted. How dare you? Do you know how powerful our division chief is? He's an overlord at the 9th level of chi refinement. You can't provoke him. As soon as he said that, the other patrol members also approached Jiang Tian and the encirclement gradually shrank. They were full of fighting spirit and murderous intent as they shouted. The street patrol department is inviolable. We are the most powerful force in the entire Heavenly Star small world. The City Lord once encouraged us to be the vanguard when we attack Earth in the future. Kid, you'd better surrender, otherwise, we'll cut you into pieces. Even if you're lucky enough to escape, our division chief will kill you. Ha, you really won't give up until you see the coffin. Jiang Tian sneered and slapped. Boom. The slap landed squarely on a patrol member's body. Boom. This person directly exploded, and a bloody mist filled the air. Sparkling and translucent flesh rained down from the sky. Kill him. He's an overlord. Don't show any mercy. Kill him. Dogs, go, bite him. Whoosh. The remaining 7 or 8 city patrol members all jumped up from the back of the dog, each holding a long blade, and charged towards Jiang Tian from all directions. They had all reached the transcendent state and were powerful overlords on Earth. Even an immortal state cultivator would have trouble dealing with them when they attacked in unison. At the same time, 8 ferocious dogs the size of calves also opened their bloody mouths and bit towards Jiang Tian. Heavenly beings, don't you want to kill deities? They're low-level deities. Kill them. Jiang Tian said coldly. Yes. Celestial Leaf was infuriated and directly attacked. Swish. 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 The shattering iron sword shot out like a bolt of lightning. It was incomparably sharp and instantly broke through the sound barrier. Oh no, he's an overlord. Let's retreat. Division Chief, we need help. Heavenly Star Palace's law enforcement team, please suppress them. The rest of the assistants were so scared that their souls were about to leave their bodies. Their faces were pale as they scrambled to run out of the door, trying to get reinforcements to make a comeback. But how could Yi Tianren give them the chance to do so? The flying iron sword instantly transformed into a cold light that was like a waterfall. It swept out like a rainbow that pierced through the sun. It was extremely dazzling and dazzling. In the blink of an eye, it flew into the sheath on Yi Tianren's back. In the eyes of the crowd, it was just a blur. The assistant management team members froze in their tracks, not moving an inch. Why aren't you running? Just as everyone was stunned and confused. Chi! Chi! A sharp sound rang out. A circle of blood appeared on everyone's necks, and then blood spurted out from their necks like a fountain. Heads flew more than 10 meters away like footballs. Everyone was dumbfounded, not daring to believe it. They didn't expect Jiang Tian and the others to act so decisively. They killed more than 30 patrollers and assistants in an instant. They were simply audacious. Immortal Master Jiang, you look so cool when you kill people. A moment later, Xiao Yingluo's face was full of adoration as she cheered. Domineering. Xiao Beishan waved his fist heavily, his face red with excitement. Immortal Master Jiang, you're my idol. The stinky monkey was so happy that he did 3 backflips in a row. They had been bullied by these patrollers and had long wanted to kill them, but they didn't have the guts. At most, they dared to hit them with a stick. But Xiao Beishan's face was bitter. He stared at Jiang Tian with a complicated gaze. No one knew what he was thinking. Everyone, come and collect your things. Jiang Tian said lightly. The Heavenly Star Hidden Sect world was still a relatively low-level cultivation civilization. Storage artifacts were still rare. These patrollers were still using backpacks and didn't have artifacts like storage bags or sumaru rings. The many spirit stones and artifacts that they had just plundered were in the backpacks. Jiang Tian's face was calm. He took off the backpack unhurriedly and threw it on the ground. Take it away. But many of the neighbors, vendors, and customers didn't dare to come forward. They looked at Jiang Tian as if he were a snake and stepped back step by step. A moment later, everyone disappeared. Qiao Huayin stepped forward and clasped his hands. Immortal Master Jiang, you acted righteously and killed the evil thieves. I am very grateful. You're welcome. They were looking for trouble with me, so I killed them. It's only natural. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. Qiao Huayin's face was a little worried. But Immortal Master Jiang, you're in big trouble. You killed the patrollers, which is tantamount to provoking the entire border city. And the Heavenly Star Palace is behind the border city. What awaits you next is an endless pursuit. There are countless experts. The Heavenly Star Palace seems to have 300 Foundation Establishment experts and 1 Golden Core expert. Jiang Tian asked faintly. You knew, and you still dared to do it? Qiao Huayin looked at Jiang Tian as if he was crazy. I can kill a Golden Core expert with a lift of my hand. Jiang Tian sneered. Qiao Huayin shook his head. Obviously, he didn't have much confidence in Jiang Tian, but he was too lazy to expose him. Immortal Master Jiang, your cultivation is extraordinary. I'm afraid you're in the immortal realm, or even in the Foundation Establishment realm. I'd like to find a way out for you. Qiao Huayin's face turned cold. Oh. Jiang Tian was slightly stunned. Qiao Huayin showed a faint arrogance and said, to be honest, I'm from the Jade Well Trading Company, Feng Yonghui. Jade Well Trading Company, Feng Yonghui? Who is he? Jiang Tian frowned and asked. Beside him, Xiao Yingluo had already exclaimed, her beautiful eyes sparkling with admiration. Which Feng Yonghui can there be? Of course it's the Heavenly Star Palace's #1 smuggling tycoon, Chu Yonghui. In the entire Heavenly Star small world, more than half of the smuggled goods are made by him. Dad, it turns out that the magical weapons you refined were all given to Uncle Chu Yonghui. Because of Chu Yonghui, she suddenly had a whole new level of respect for her father. Qiao Huayin slammed the table and made up his mind. Immortal Master Jiang killed the people of the City Patrol Department. I'm afraid this matter won't end well, and we'll all be implicated. Since we've already started, let's go. He immediately dismissed his disciples and packed up his belongings. Then, he put his middle finger between his lips and made a few sharp whistles. Suddenly, whoosh! 6 huge eagles with 10-meter-long wings appeared. They were incomparably handsome, and their feathers were as sharp as steel blades. Their sharp claws flashed with cold light as they crossed the sky, rolling up a gust of wind and landing in the courtyard. Oh my god, the giant back eagles. Dad, you actually have 6 giant back eagles, that's amazing. Seeing this, Xiaoyingluo's beautiful eyes flashed with excitement. Her face was full of shock and disbelief. These giant back eagles were very expensive. Each one was worth hundreds of thousands of 5 essence crystals. They flew extremely fast and could travel 1,000 miles in a day. Humph, if Dad wants to work for Peak Master Feng Yonghui, of course he has to have some foundation. Immortal Master Jiang, let's go. Qiao Huayin put his hands behind his back and raised his chin slightly. A touch of lofty pride appeared on his face. Jiang Tian nodded. For Jiang Tian, coming to the Heavenly Star small world was firstly to intimidate the Heavenly Star Palace and kill them until they didn't dare to covet the secular world. Secondly, to find opportunities to break through to the second level of foundation establishment or even higher. Thirdly, to understand the secrets of the ruins of immortality. From what he heard, Chu Yonghui, as a lawless space smuggler, should have a lot of information and resources. It would be good to get to know him and use him. The few of them climbed onto the back of one of the giant back eagles. This giant back eagle lived up to its name. Its back was wide and large, and there were spacious seats installed on it that could seat 5 or 6 people. It was very comfortable. The remaining 5 giant back eagles were filled with Dharma artifacts, Dharma treasures, and many raw materials. But compared to what they had abandoned, it was just a drop in the ocean. In addition, there were a few craftsmen who swore to follow Qiao Huayin. After packing up, at Qiao Huayin's whistle, the 6 giant back eagles flapped their wings and flew into the distance. Qiao Huayin stared at the Hall of Divine Craftsmen reluctantly. His eyes were slightly red as he sighed. 3 generations, 200 years of hard work. In the end, we can't do it anymore. The annual tribute is too heavy. This world doesn't let people live. We can't let them off so easily. Qiao Beishan's face was filled with grief and indignation. Suddenly, he took out a few thunder talismans and threw them at the Hall of Divine Craftsmen. Ah Shan, what are you doing? Qiao Huayin shouted. But the thunder talismans had already exploded. Boom! 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 In an instant, the earth shook and the mountains shook. Walls collapsed and houses collapsed. Flames rose into the sky, and billowing black smoke rose into the sky. Huge craftsmen's furnaces were torn apart. Reaction furnaces the size of millstones were shot into the sky from the black smoke and flames. Countless crystal pieces were turned into powder. In seconds, the Hall of Divine Craftsmen, which had a long history of 200 years, was engulfed in a sea of fire and turned into ruins. Yes, we can't come back anyway. Qiao Huayin was stunned. Tears finally rolled down his face, but he just shook his head and said nothing. After this incident, they would be condemned in the future and could no longer live in the sun. The Hall of Divine Craftsmen could only be confiscated and given to the Starry Sky Palace. It was better to destroy it. Sure enough, just 15 minutes after Jiang Tian and the others left, the patrolling experts came one after another. It seems that there is an immortal state expert here. After checking the scene, the expert said in a low voice, "What is this person's name? Find out immediately." A moment later, several neighbors were captured. After a round of torture, they immediately found out Jiang Tian's name. Kang Teichu. Since when did such an immortal state expert appear in a small place like Qingyang town? Everyone was doubtful. How can an immortal state expert be considered an expert? Judging from the direction, he must have fled to Demon Cave Mountain. His face was gloomy as he said in a low voice. It seems that we have to go to Demon Cave Mountain immediately to capture this person. Although Ma Yang is not very capable, he is still the brother-in-law of the city lord of Border City. Chapter 889. Brother Qiao, if the old doesn't go, the new won't come. Don't be sad. Later, I'll give you a border city. Jiang Tian saw that Qiao Huayin was sad and kindly comforted him. Don't brag. Qiao Huayin smiled bitterly and shook his head. This little brother's strength wasn't bad, but he was too impulsive. Killing the patrol officers was equivalent to putting himself in a place of no return. As for returning a desolate city to him, that was simply nonsense. Dad, where are we going? Qiao Huailua's hair was pulled straight by the wind, and the muscles on her cheeks trembled as she shouted at the top of her lungs. To the Demon Cave Mountain, the Mountain of Sin. Qiao Huayin showed a look of yearning and responded loudly. The Demon Cave Mountain. Dad, so you have connections with the Demon Cave Mountain. Qiao Yingluo and the others were excited and in disbelief. You don't know, right? Chu Yonghui is the peak master of the Demon Cave Mountain's Jade Well Peak. Let's go and seek refuge with him. Qiao Huayin smiled. At the edge of the heavenly star space, there was a huge mountain range with a radius of 100 miles called the Demon Cave Mountain. Here, there were deep ravines and cliffs, undulating giant trees that covered the sky, and poisonous miasma filled the air. Evil beasts and poisonous insects were everywhere, and evil spirits ran rampant. It was extremely dangerous, and ordinary people were unwilling to enter. Moreover, the geological situation was complex and changeable, a bit similar to the karst landforms on Earth, but more complex and strange. The mountain was riddled with holes, and the underground rivers and holes were intertwined with each other like an ant's nest. According to statistics, the area of the underground world of the Demon Cave Mountain was more than 10 times the surface area. This became a natural barrier for the rebels to avoid the pursuit of the Heavenly Star Palace. There were 2 million people living here. Elusive killers, murderous bandits, insidious smugglers, contraband manufacturers and peddlers, black markets, casinos, and a series of black areas on the edge of the law were all gathered here. Therefore, the Demon Cave Mountain was also known as the Mountain of Sin, a lawless place, and the largest black market in the Heavenly Star's small world. As long as you had enough crystals, you could buy pills with amazing effects but extremely unstable quality here. You could also buy many powerful offensive magical weapons that were banned by the Heavenly Star Palace. You could even buy treasures of unknown origin from other small worlds in the Heavenly Star's small world. Even if he did not have crystals, he could still use his own strength to fight for a piece of the world in the exciting and blood-boiling casinos or fighting arenas. In fact, in the long river of history, the Starry Sky Palace had sent out troops to kill them many times, but every time, they returned in defeat. The reason for this was that behind the major forces of Demon Cave Mountain, there were many large sects, including the Heavenly Star Palace. Heavenly Star Test TTTTTS want note have 8 TTTTS. Secondly, cultivators were human beings, too. They had feelings, too. After a long period of boring training and a stressful life of fighting, they would develop dark and negative feelings, and they needed an outlet to vent their feelings, too. Most importantly, the spiritual energy in the Demon Cave Mountain was unstable and miasma pervaded, breeding a large number of demon beasts. As for the martial artists and cultivators who lived in Demon Cave Mountain, these lawless people, they were the first line of defense for humanity against the monster beasts. After all, they had to kill the demon beasts to survive here. In the Heavenly Star small world, an unspoken rule had gradually formed. Once a criminal escaped into the Demon Cave Mountain, the righteous sects and major cities would no longer search for them. Where do you think Dad sold the magical weapons he refined? Half of them were sold to Chu Yonghui. Qiao Huayin smiled triumphantly. Then, he showed a bit of anger and said coldly, in this world, other than the Heavenly Star Palace, everyone else has to starve to death. We have to find a way to survive. Master, don't be sad. I heard that Chu Yonghui loves talent very much. He'll definitely find a good job for Master Jiang. The stinky monkey said excitedly. I can talk to Sister Chu Yunxiu. She's my sworn sister, and she likes to make magical weapons. Qiao Yingluo said sweetly. Chu Yunxiu. Qiao Beishan and the stinky monkey looked at her with reverence, as if they had heard the name of a goddess. Yes, 20th on the prodigy list. She can stand side by side with those Taoists, the son of the city lord, and the elites of the sects. Even Xiao Huayin showed some admiration. Then, she said seriously, although you often call each other sisters, that's just her casual words. You can't take it seriously. Her identity is too noble, we can't be friends with her. Chu Yunxiu was Chu Yonghui's only daughter, and her cultivation and skills were top-notch. She stepped into the first level of foundation establishment at a young age, controlled the Jade Well Trading Company, and was ranked 20th on the prodigy list. In this world, among the younger generation, only the 9 elite disciples of the Heavenly Star Palace, Fairy Miao Yi of the Heartless Sect, Monk Da Xian of the Demon Subduing Temple, and Ding Ling Dang, the beloved daughter of the Star Capital City Lord, could surpass her. Jiang Tian interrupted with a smile, Ying Luo, you can also make magic weapons? Hee, they're just some simple life-type magical artifacts. Xiao Ying Luo said a little shyly. For example, a doll that can jump on time, a stick that can massage itself. I can only make ordinary magic weapons for combat. Jiang Tian nodded. Dad, you're already a member of the Demon Cave Mountain, but you still want me to apply for the Heavenly Star Palace's outer sect? Suddenly, Xiao Ying Luo pouted. Don't tell me you want me to catch you in the future. You're a contraband manufacturer, a smuggler. Xiao Huayin showed a bitter smile, shook his head, and sighed. Child, it's just for a way to survive. I joined the Demon Cave Mountain just to eat, and you joined the Heavenly Star Palace just to eat. Dad, maybe the Demon Cave Mountain will overthrow the Heavenly Star Palace? Then wouldn't you be the founder of the sect? Xiao Ying Luo said with a smile. Don't even think about it. Xiao Huayin shook his head and said flatly. No matter what, the Heavenly Star Palace is the #1 sect, with a lot of talents and strong people. Although the Demon Cave Mountain has a large population, it can't compare to any of the 4 major cities, not to mention that there are several stronger sects in the 4 major cities. First of all, in terms of absolute power, it's a little weaker. Secondly, the peak masters there each have their own mountains, and everyone is unconvinced. They're like a plate of loose sand, so how can they possibly defeat the Heavenly Star Palace? After flying for half an hour, the Demon Cave Mountain finally revealed its true appearance. This area was about 100 kilometers in radius. However, the altitude of the peaks was far higher than the mountain ranges on Earth. Most of them reached more than 5,000 meters, and the highest was even 10,000 meters high. Looking from afar, one could see numerous steep peaks densely packed together, like sharp swords pointing to the sky. At this time, the night was dark and the wind was strong, and the bright stars gathered into a huge vortex, tearing, colliding, and swallowing each other. From the center of the vortex, surging spiritual energy and colorful miasma aura were ejected, mixed with thunder as thick as an arm, blasting toward the mountains like a volcanic eruption. Master, what is this? Yi Tianren asked solemnly. This scene was too shocking. If a foundation establishment cultivator was swallowed by the vortex, they would probably be reduced to dust. This space is supported and stabilized by 3 huge arrays, a gravity simulation array, a space suspension array, and a heavenly cycle array. Jiang Tian's eyes lit up as he stared at the chaotic space and said in a deep voice, originally, the spiritual energy would fall from the surroundings and be attracted to the bottom of this space by the heavenly cycle array, then seep out from the mountains and plains. But too much time has passed, and many flaws have appeared in these arrays, causing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to become chaotic and unbalanced. The spiritual energy directly explodes from a point in the void, and under the influence of the gravity array, it bombards the ground. Jiang Tian's face was a little worried. Others might not be able to see it, but Jiang Tian could. These arrays could only last for 300 years at most. After 300 years, many of the arrays would collapse, and the entire continent would fall apart, turning into chaotic meteorite fragments. This might be the reason why the Starry Palace was the first to attack Earth among the many hidden sects. They could not afford to wait. Demon Cave Mountain has 7 main peaks, 9 caves, and 36 ridges. There are more than 50 big and small forces in total. Jade Well Peak is ranked 4th. Qiao Huayin introduced excitedly. The few giant back eagles were also experienced. Spreading their enormous wings, they skillfully avoided the turbulence of spiritual energy and the flashing lightning and flew toward a mountain that seemed to be glittering and translucent. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The giant back eagle landed on a raised platform halfway up the mountain. Qiao Huayin jumped down from the eagle's back and said with a face full of joy, "We're here." Jiang Tian looked around. He saw a cave winding into the mountain, and the words, "Jade Well Peak," were carved in stone above the cave entrance. The platform had a radius of a few hundred meters and was completely paved with high-quality jade. The sides of the cave entrance were carved with excellent water-quality jade into the shape of Pixiu, Qilin, Taotai, and other ancient beasts. The carvings were exquisite, and the eyes were inlaid with all kinds of gemstones. The door was made of gold mixed with rare metals. It was indestructible and exuded a sense of heroism. The ceiling of the cave was inlaid with fist-sized luminous pearls, emitting a gentle halo. These things, be it exotic beasts, luminous pearls, gold, or even jade, would all be extremely rare treasures on Earth. They would be priceless. However, they could be found everywhere here. The wealth of Jade Well Peak was evident. Jade Well Peak was indeed one of the 7 main peaks and was blessed by nature. Standing on the platform and looking down at the mountains, it gave people a feeling of looking down at the mountains, making them feel proud. Moreover, there should be a huge spirit gathering array in the mountain. Even though they were still outside the mountain, they could feel the abundant spiritual energy that was not inferior to the heavenly cycle eternal array. Such a sect's aura and such a deep foundation were indeed shocking. Even Yi Tianren was secretly shocked. The sects on earth, such as ancient Wudang and Amei sect, were like country bumpkins in comparison. Perhaps only the Kunlun sect could compete with them. Bastards, who allowed you to come here? Do you know where this is? Get out. A guard quickly walked over and stopped them. His eyes were full of disdain as if he was looking at ants. When Jiang Tian saw this, his face darkened slightly. His eyes flickered with a sharp killing intent. Chapter 890. Although this Jade Well Peak looked oppressive, the people in charge of guarding it were all elite experts. Each of them was clad in dark gold armor and wielded a Dharma artifact. Their eyes shone brightly. All of them were at the peak of the transcendent state and were only one step away from the immortal state. No wonder Qiao Huayin had told Chen Fan that the annual income of the guards was more than that of a patrol captain. I am Qiao Huayin, the leader of the Divine Craftsman Hall in Qingyang Town. Jiang Tian was about to make a move when Qiao Huayin pulled him back. His face was full of joy as he cupped his fists and said respectfully, "You must have an invitation or an appointment before you can enter." The guard said disdainfully, "Our peak master is a prestigious figure. You think you can meet him?" Qiao Huayin smiled apologetically and said humbly, "I don't have an invitation, but I've been a supplier to our peak master. I've had a few drinks with our peak master. Now that I have something important to report to our peak master, please inform him." "Shoo shoo shoo, our Jade Well Peak has at least 800 if not 1,000 suppliers like you." The guard waved his hand as if he was shooing away a fly. He raised his eyebrows and said disdainfully, "If anyone can see our peak master just because they want to, then peak master should stop doing business and just focus on receiving you." Qiao Huayin was embarrassed. He took out a bag of crystal stones and asked the guard to open the gate. However, the guard kicked him to the ground. "You don't have to fight with me if you don't want to let us in." Jiang Tian raised his eyebrows and the sky-devouring magic gourd jumped up from his waist. He was about to behead the guard. "Boss Qiao, why are you here instead of making a fortune in Qingyang Town?" At this moment, a low, muffled voice sounded. Everyone turned around and saw a fat man riding an equally fat white crane and landing on the platform. "Boss Qiao is my friend. How can you make things difficult for him?" Under the escort of a few attendants, he got off the white crane. With his chest puffed out and his hands behind his back, he walked over with a frown on his face and a displeased scolding. "Hall Master Huang." "Greetings, Hall Master Huang." The guards bowed to the newcomer in a very humble manner. Brother Huang Biao, you're back. Hurry up and tell your brothers to let me in. Qiao Huayan's face lit up as if he had seen his savior. Alas, what bad luck. The Hall of Divine Craftsmen has been exposed, and the patrolling officers of the border city have come to investigate. I have no choice but to seek refuge with the Peak Lord. A few patrolling dogs scared you to this extent? I thought you were the lackeys of the Department of Investigation Services. You're becoming more and more useless. Huang Biao smiled casually. Behind him, a few of his followers burst into laughter. They looked at Qiao Huayan as if he was a clown. Old Qiao, not just anyone can enter Jade Well Peak's entrance. The Peak Master's status is honorable, and not just anyone can meet him. Huang Biao was an immortal state cultivator and was the hall master of a branch. He was highly regarded by Chu Yonghui and his status was much higher than Qiao Huayan's. At this time, he was like a big shot inspecting the countryside, amiable and aloof. However, you have contributed to Jade Well Peak after all, and now you're in trouble. It's reasonable that I can't leave you alone. Thank you, Brother Huang. I knew it, you're always the most loyal. Qiao Huayan's face was full of joy and gratitude. At this time, Huang Biao's gaze swept across Jiang Tian, Yi Tianren, and the big black dog. He frowned and questioned unhappily. But you want to bring in these miscellaneous people, and more importantly, a black dog? What's the meaning of this? You're so insensible. Qiao Huayan's face stiffened, and he couldn't make a decision. Qiao Yingluo hurriedly said. Uncle Huang, this Mr. Jiang is a genuine immortal master. He's in the immortal state and even has a foundation establishment cultivation. He even killed a few patrolling dogs and saved our family. Just let him in. He's an immortal master, silly girl. You've been deceived, why can't I tell? When Huang Biao looked at Qiao Yingluo, a trace of affection appeared on his face. Although this girl's aptitude was average and she didn't have a good family background, she was a good match for his silly son. Really, Uncle Huang? If you don't let him in, then I won't go in either. I'll wander the world. Qiao Yingluo stomped her feet and pouted. She was originally beautiful and charming. Now that she was acting coquettishly and shamelessly, she was even more attractive and made people feel pity for her. Seeing this, Jiang Tian had a good impression of this girl. At least she knew how to repay kindness. Why don't you take a look at her physique and give her a few pointers? We can be considered acquaintances. Jiang Tian thought so and used his divine sense to scan Qiao Yingluo slightly, secretly praising her. Qiao Yingluo had the Ice Heart Jade Urn body, which was a type of water-type spirit body. Her physique was not bad and could be cultivated. Okay. Since you've done the Qiao family a favor and Yingluo has pleaded for you, then come in with me. Huang Biao patted Qiao Yingluo's head, then looked at Jiang Tian and arrogantly instructed and warned him. But you have to pay attention to your identity. Don't run around inside. Jade Well Peak is preparing for the annual meeting. If you offend a distinguished guest, it will be difficult to explain. Oh. Jiang Tian's eyes flickered, and he smiled faintly. It had been a long time since anyone dared to threaten him, the Taichu's celestial venerable. Whether it was in his previous life, Jiang Tian had dominated hundreds of millions of star regions, or after his rebirth, he had shocked a star. Now, with his strength, he could pierce through Jade Well Peak with one sword and destroy it with a flick of his finger. But now, this fatty Huang dared to threaten him. Let's go, Brother Jiang. It's my first time at Jade Well Peak, and Chu Yunxiu is my best friend. I'll help you find her. After getting permission, Qiao Yingluo immediately pulled Jiang Tian into the cave excitedly. Jiang Tian narrowed his eyes slightly and glanced at Huang Biao, but he didn't make a move. Jiang Tian's divine sense had just scanned Demon Cave Mountain and found that spirit energy and miasma intertwined. Demon beasts were rampant, so there should be a lot of natural treasures here. He might even be able to find resources that could help him change his constitution from gold to black water. But he was unfamiliar with the place and needed Xiao Yingluo or someone from Jade Well Peak to be his guide. There was no need to kill an ant like Huang Biao at such a critical time and become enemies with Jade Well Peak. After Jiang Tian and Xiao Yingluo went in, Yi Tianren and the big black dog also followed in. Xiao Huayin walked into the cave while chatting with Huang Biao. Hall Master Huang, why did you say that the annual meeting of Jade Well Peak would be held in advance? The demon race isn't peaceful. It's said that the great demon Baizhe has awakened. Recently, many demon races have joined forces and started a war repeatedly, trying to drive us away from Jade Well Peak. Huang Biao's face was solemn as he said in a low voice. The demon race is about to come out. Xiao Huayin's expression changed drastically. He was so shocked that his whole body trembled. And it's the great demon Baizhe. That's a legendary demon immortal. It's even stronger than a golden core expert. This demon cave mountain was originally the territory of the demon race. Huang Biao said lightly. But you don't have to worry. This time, we'll join forces with Jin Song Peak. Jin Song Peak will join forces with us. Will Peak Master Jiang Haishan come? Xiao Huayin couldn't believe it. Jin Song Peak was the strongest peak in Demon Cave Mountain. It had more than 30 foundation establishment experts. Jin Song Peak was so powerful that it was a well-known existence in the entire Heavenly Star small world. Especially the peak master of Jin Song Peak, Jiang Haishan, who had reached the 5th level of foundation establishment. He was known as a dragon among men. His cultivation, ability, and tactics were all excellent. He had once fought with the leaders of various sects and retreated calmly. In the entire Demon Cave Mountain, Jiang Haishan was a first-class expert and the most promising existence to unify Demon Cave Mountain. It was said that even the city lords of the 4 major cities and the sect masters of the 9 sects had a whole new level of respect for him. I don't know if Jiang Haishan will come. Huang Biao shook his head and smiled mysteriously. But Jiang Haishan's son, Jiang Yunhe, will definitely come. The reason why Jin Song Peak agreed to join forces with us is because the 2 peaks are going to be connected by marriage. Miss Yunxiu is going to marry Jiang Yunhe. Xiao Huayin's eyes lit up with excitement. He wanted to see the glory of Jiang Yunhe, a top genius. Not only was Jiang Yunhe from a famous sect, but he was also a talented and eye-catching person. He was only 25 years old, but he had already reached the 2nd level of foundation establishment and was ranked 16th on the genius list. It was said that he had sparred with the Daoist of Qing Xian before and was only slightly inferior. In the entire younger generation of Demon Cave Mountain, he was an outstanding figure in many famous mountains, caves, and lakes. That's right, Jiang Yunhe has already left the mountain. However, some cave masters, hall masters, and young talents of the younger generation are inviting him to a banquet. He will definitely come this year. Huang Biao said confidently. This marriage involves the 100-year plan of the 2 peaks and even the great cause of unifying Demon Cave Mountain. It can be said to be a grand event and the peak master values it very much. A grand event, this is really a grand event. Xiao Huayin's face was full of yearning as he sighed. But he could only sigh. After all, he was too far away from these tyrants and geniuses. He didn't even have the right to talk to them. Chapter 891. And Jiang Tian had already been pulled into Jade Well Peak by the little girl Xiaoying Luo. This Jade Well Peak lived up to its name. It was hollow inside, like a deep well that led straight to the ground. The air was filled with the smell of rust and billowing heat waves. On the walls of the mountain, there were rooms, refining rooms, alchemy rooms, storage rooms, fighting arenas, markets of various sizes, either naturally formed or artificially excavated. There were hundreds of them densely packed together, but they were orderly and had distinct levels, just like an underground city. And there were plank roads and covered bridges connected, crisscrossing in midair like a spider web. Some of the cultivators of Jadewell Peak flew through the air on their flying swords, some rode on large birds, and even more rode on a platform that was like an elevator that was pulled by ropes like Jiang Tian and the others. Here, such ladders with power devices like wooden oxen and horses were called hanging ladders. In the casino, there were occasional horse shouts. In the fighting arena, there were sounds of fists and feet and swords clashing. In the market, there were whispers of bargaining. I heard that fighting competitions are held here every day, and there's even a casino where you can bet. Xiao Yingluo looked fascinated and rubbed her palms, not knowing if she wanted to bet or fight. Soon, the hanging ladder stopped on the 39th floor, and Xiao Yingluo pulled Jiang Tian into a large hall. This was the headquarters of the Jadewell firm. The little girl put her delicate hands behind her back, looked left and right, and shouted, "Sister Yunxiu, where are you? Yingluo is here to see you." "Yingluo, I heard the report that you killed someone outside. You must have caused trouble again, right?" A woman in snow-white clothes with a gentle face walked out from the inner room and said in a displeased tone. As soon as this woman came out, the whole hall lit up, and even the luminous pearls inlaid on the roof were overshadowed. She had bright eyes and white teeth, a beautiful face, elegant manners, and elegant manners. Her white clothes were spotless, and she was like a fairy in the mortal world, untainted and untainted. "Sister Xiu, I'm about to be bullied to death. Not only are you not going to uphold justice for me, you're even mocking me like this." Xiao Yingluo pouted coquettishly, but she had already flown over like a swallow returning to the forest. She jumped up and wrapped her legs around Chu Yunxiu's waist. She rubbed her head against Chu Yunxiu's neck like a spoiled child. "This girl is already 16 years old. She can get married, but she's still acting like a wild child." Chu Yunxiu smiled and patted Xiao Yingluo's shoulder. "I wonder which young master will take a fancy to you in the future. What if I can't get married?" "Ah, sister, you smell so good." Xiao Yingluo sniffed her neck greedily. Chu Yunxiu's beautiful eyes landed on Jiang Tian. She blushed slightly and said, "Come down quickly. There are guests here." Xiao Yingluo jumped down and pulled Jiang Tian's hand forward. "Immortal Master Jiang, this is Chu Yunxiu, Peak Master Chu's daughter. She's also my good sister. It's her favorite life-type magic tool. Sister Xiu, this is Immortal Master Jiang. He's at least in the foundation establishment stage. He's definitely a young talent. In Qingyang town, he killed dozens of dogs and saved our family. He's really a hero. Immortal Master Jiang's cultivation is actually so powerful." Chu Yunxiu was slightly stunned. Her clear eyes looked up and down at Jiang Tian in disbelief. She was famous on the Tianjiao list. In the whole Heavenly Star small world, she was also an outstanding figure of the younger generation. She controlled the famous Jadewell Trading Company and had a wide range of friends. Tianjiao, son of the Peak Master, Taoist, son of the City Lord, core disciples of large sections. She knew a lot of people, but she had never seen a person like Jiang Tian. Although Xiao Yingluo was still young, she was very sensible and considered a lot for Jiang Tian. She smiled and said, "Sister Xiu, your Jadewell Trading Company and the entire Jadewell Peak are in need of people. With Immortal Master Jiang's ability, he can at least be a hall master or an elder, or be a great consecrator in the peak. In this way, Immortal Master Jiang will have a place to stay, and our strength will also be strengthened. Isn't it the best of both worlds?" Chu Yunxiu looked at Jiang Tian with her beautiful eyes. She bowed slightly and said with a smile, "Immortal Master Jiang, you're in the foundation establishment stage. Which famous sect or family do you come from?" "The first level of the foundation establishment stage," Jiang Tian said with a calm face. "I'm from the other side of the starry sky. I'm the leader of a small sect on Earth." "I see." Chu Yunxiu couldn't believe it and showed a bit of surprise. Suddenly, she looked at Jiang Tian with a faint smile and said, "Yingluo, you go out first. I'll discuss his position with Mr. Jiang." "Oh, you guys take your time. I'm going out. Xiao Yingluo looked depressed and felt abandoned, but she still went out obediently. Earth is a wasteland world with thin spiritual energy. People there are called abandoned people of the gods. It's impossible for them to reach the foundation establishment stage. After Xiao Yingluo left, Chu Yunxiu raised her hand and set up a soundproof restriction. Then she said coldly, "What's your intention for lying to my sister like this? Is the first level of the foundation establishment stage that great in your eyes? Do I have to lie?" Jiang Tian stood with his hands behind his back. His face was calm as he said disdainfully, "Even if a golden core master is here, even if the master of the heavenly star palace is here, I can kill him with a raise of my hand." Jiang Tian had returned after 10,000 years of cultivation. In terms of cultivation techniques, combat experience, and understanding of cultivation, he was far superior to his peers. Moreover, he had achieved great success in the Gengjin divine body. With the advantage of his physique, his combat power was far beyond his cultivation level. He could even kill a golden core master. Shameless boasting. You're ignorant and fearless. Chu Yunxiu's face was full of sarcasm. Cultivation levels were strict and could not be crossed. The difference between the foundation establishment stage and the golden core stage was like heaven and earth. A first level of the foundation establishment stage facing a golden core master was like a 3-year-old baby facing a strong man. He could not withstand a single blow. Anyone who had a bit of common sense about cultivation wouldn't be so arrogant. This boy was so ignorant that he was obviously a liar. Suddenly, Chu Yunxiu thought of something, and her face suddenly became cold and severe. In an instant, the gentleness and elegance on her body suddenly disappeared. Her whole person was like an unsheathed sword, incomparably sharp. At this time, her monstrous sternness as a peerless genius was revealed. Her eyes were as cold as knives, and she said coldly, "Let me remind you. Although Yingluo and I are not related by blood, we've known each other since childhood and are like sisters. I will definitely protect her. Don't even think about humiliating her. What are you thinking? She and I only met by chance. Besides, she's only 16 years old, still a child." Jiang Tian was stunned for a moment, then he frowned. I will be the only daughter of the Jade Well Peak's master in the future, and I will marry the young master of the Golden Pine Peak, Jiang Yunhe. In the future, I will definitely be the master of the Jade Well Peak and the wife of the Golden Pine Peak's master. Chu Yunxiu lifted her jade-white chin and said proudly, "If you marry Xiao Yingluo, then you will be my brother-in-law in the future. At that time, you will receive great benefits and naturally receive my protection. Otherwise, why are you trying to curry favor for no reason?" "I'm trying to curry favor for no reason." Jiang Tian did not know whether to laugh or cry. Weren't you trying to curry favor by killing those patrolling dogs?" Chu Yunxiu seemed to have seen through Jiang Tian's cunning plot and said disdainfully, "Don't be delusional. Don't be delusional. For thousands of years, the ants of earth were only qualified to be slaves here. And those who are worthy of my sister have to be the young master of the peak, the son of the city lord, or the elite disciple of that big sect, or the top 100 masters on the prodigy list. You really think too highly of yourself. You're underestimating my ability too much." Jiang Tian flung his sleeves and laughed loudly. "Not to mention a mere Jade Well Peak, even if it's the entire Demon Cave Mountain, even if it's the Heavenly Astral Palace, even if it's this Heavenly Astral Dimensional Realm, even if it's the entire Hidden Sect world, how could it be in my eyes? I, Kang Tae Chu, have been undefeated all my life and have never been weaker than anyone. Why would I need your protection?" Chu Yunxiu looked coldly at Jiang Tian, as if looking down on an ant, and did not say a word. She was too lazy to say anything else. As the eldest miss of the Jade Well Peak and the owner of the Jade Well Trading Company, she controlled countless resources and was extremely talented. She only reached the first level of foundation establishment with the guidance of many famous masters. If Jiang Tian really came from the Earth realm, how could he have reached the foundation building realm? Such an ant from the wasteland world, born lowly and weak, without any inheritance or foundation, how could he be qualified to look down on heroes and boast so shamelessly? Okay. That's all we have to say. Goodbye. Jiang Tian couldn't be bothered to speak any more nonsense, flicking his sleeves and leaving. Where are you going? Chu Yunxiu asked. This world is so vast that I can roam freely. Can't I live if I don't live under the roof of your Jade Well Peak? Jiang Tian strode away without looking back. His expression was arrogant and he sneered coldly. Reckless thing, you don't know how dangerous this world is. When you're badly injured by the cruel reality, you'll definitely come and beg me pitifully. At that time, I'll humiliate you and let you know the consequences of ignoring my warnings. Being ignored by Jiang Tian like this, Chu Yunxiu was both embarrassed and angry. She snorted and said disdainfully. Chapter 892. Jiang Tian couldn't be bothered and strode out the door. Xiao Beishan, the stinky monkey, Yi Tianren, and the old dragon were all waiting for him. Xiao Yingluo hurried forward, her face full of anticipation. Big brother Jiang, how was your talk with Sister Xiu? It was fine. Jiang Tian didn't mention the situation just now, lest it add to the little girl's worries. He patted her head and said gently, but I want to hunt some demon beasts for cultivation resources. Are you willing to come along? This is Sister Xiu's test for you, isn't it? Beside him, Xiao Yingluo smiled innocently. Jade Well Peak's test is very strict. You have to complete some missions to be qualified to join. Although Sister Xiu and I have known each other since we were young, she's a strict and old-fashioned person. I'm afraid she won't open the back door for you. But it doesn't matter. As long as we complete the mission, you'll have a place when you return. Jiang Tian smiled faintly and didn't comment. His vision wasn't limited to Jade Well Peak at all. His goal was to defeat the Heavenly Palace and control this subdimension. However, this place was rich in cultivation resources. Jiang Tian didn't need to kill his way to their door now. It wasn't a bad idea to find some cultivation resources to improve his cultivation first. Immortal Master Jiang, it's very simple to complete the mission. There's a mission hall in Demon Cave Mountain. Xiao Beishan said. The mission hall regularly publishes bounty missions. There's a brief introduction of the demon beasts. Their location, cultivation level, attack power, and so on. Many demon beasts are not only powerful in battle, but also have intelligence and dermic powers. They can even set up concealment arrays to avoid the divine senses of golden core cultivators. Let alone kill them, they might not even be able to find them. But it's different with the mission hall. We just need to follow the map. Also, I heard that a lot of demon beasts have appeared recently. The rewards must be very generous. The stinky monkey rubbed his hands. Okay. Then I'll go now. Jiang Tian nodded. I'll go too. The Qiao brothers and the stinky monkey said almost simultaneously. The few of them left the Jade Well Mountain and rode on a white gigantic back eagle together, flying towards a mountain more than 30 li away. This mountain peak was called the Great Yang Peak, and there was a continuous stretch of palaces on top of it. Other than the core mission hall, there were also many taverns, casinos, markets, and even brothels. From time to time, there would be cultivators riding falcons, red-crowned cranes, and so on. There were also some Foundation establishment cultivators riding on flying swords. Spring Fragrance Brothel. The vermilion door was made of green bricks and tiles, and a red light hung high above. Upstairs, an enchanting woman stuck half of her body out and waved a red handkerchief. She laughed tenderly and said, "Little brother, come up and play." There were also some women hugging Pipa as they leaned against the window. Half of their faces were covered as they gently played the pipa. What are we playing? City people are so strange. They're so passionate. I'm not used to it. Xiao Beishan was confused. Xiao Yingluo blushed and glanced at Jiang Tian. She saw that Jiang Tian's face was as calm as still water and did not move. The little girl sighed in her heart. Immortal Master Jiang was a person who had achieved Tao and was different from ordinary people. The stinky monkey only looked up at the enchanting woman, but his soul seemed to have left his body. His eyes were dull, and he was drooling like a fly rubbing its hands. He smiled and said, "Since they're so passionate, it must be fun. When I finish the mission and get a lot of crystals, I'll go and play with them. I'll be rich." "Stinky monkey, you've learned bad things." Xiaoying Luo's face turned even redder. She pulled the stinky monkey's ear and said coquettishly, "Those women have all cultivated the fox seduction technique. Not only will they empty your wallet, but they'll also empty your body." The stinky monkey felt pain, and his eyes instantly became clear. He said weakly, "What are you thinking? I just wanted to wash my feet." The gigantic back eagle was in front of the mission hall. Everyone got off the eagle and went to the mission hall. There was a stream of people, and it was very lively. Many cultivators and experts had gathered. Some of them were wearing animal skin hunting clothes and carrying long swords. They were rough and powerful. Some were wearing Taoist robes and holding horsetail whisks. Their auras were otherworldly. Some were wearing black masks and looked like hibernating poisonous snakes. Their temperaments were obscure and cold. Some received hunting missions, some paid for missions, and some formed groups of 3 or 5 to invite each other to form a team. These missions are jointly issued by the main forces of the Demon Cave Mountain. There will be 5 crystals as a reward. Although it was Xiaoying Luo's first time here, she had heard a lot of information about this place. She was excited, but then she rolled her eyes at the stinky monkey. Some cultivators who received a lot of rewards are stupid because they have too much money. They go around and give money to those foxes. The stinky monkey said gloomily, "Don't mention this, I was just thinking about it." So the so-called mission is to pay crystals in exchange for a demon beast distribution map. Xiao Beishan looked at the introduction hanging on the wall and touched his chin. Moreover, this mission is quite expensive. The lowest level 1-star mission requires 100,000 spar. "Little brother, are you new to the Demon Cave Mountain? Is there anything I can help with?" At this time, a young man dressed as a waiter came over and asked with a smile. "Yes, I just joined the Jade Well Peak." Xiao Beishan returned the greeting with a smile. "Little brother, the mission hall is private." "Of course, it has to make money," the waiter said with a smile. "It's very simple to issue missions. It can be completely free, but the key is that we provide detailed information. For example, the number of demonic beasts, their level of combat strength, their division, habits, weaknesses, physical condition, whether they have been injured, and so on. This information is very useful to cultivators and can greatly increase the success rate of hunting. We bought this information from cultivators who have fought with the demons at a high price. It's not like we don't have any capital, so of course we have to make money." "I see. This means that even if we can't kill the demon beast, as long as we can get useful information, we can exchange it for money?" Xiao Beishan asked. "That's right." The waiter smiled. Moreover, according to the characteristics of the demon beast, the mission hall has also given suggestions for forming teams. For example, the ratio of meat shield type, healing type, battle type, divine ability type, close combat type, and long-range attack type cultivators, and even the best cultivation level is clearly stated. Our service can be said to be very good. So, your money is well spent. 100,000 low-grade crystals, that's too expensive. Xiao Beishan was speechless and felt the pinch. All his assets added together were not that much. He had spent so much money without even seeing the demon beast. It was really too depressing. "Don't worry about that, we also provide loan services." The waiter smiled and said. "You only need to mortgage your sex token here, and you will be able to obtain a low-interest loan. For example, you can take a 1-star mission. Spend 100,000 crystals, and 10 days later, you only need to pay us 11,000 crystals. But how much is the reward for a 1-star mission?" 1 million. You'll earn almost 10 times. That's not bad. Xiao Beishan's eyes lit up. He was very tempted. Isn't that so? Demon Cave Mountain is known as the adventurer's paradise, so many people have made a fortune here. Countless tycoons and millionaires have been born here. The waiter smiled and bewitched. What if I fail the mission and can't pay back the loan? The stinky monkey rolled his eyes and had the idea of fleecing. Those who fleeced are all dead. Xiao Yingluo pouted and smiled. Do you think they're kind people who eat people without spitting out the bones? It's said that 3 years ago, a Foundation establishment cultivator borrowed money to take a 3-star mission. In the end, the mission failed and he was seriously injured. They directly took away his wife and daughter and put them under house arrest. This cultivator was forced to help them kill demon beasts for 3 years, and he's still killing them now. Little girl, don't talk nonsense. The waiter said seriously. We're doing business, after all, we can't lose money. What house arrest? That cultivator's wife and daughter were treated like guests by us and didn't suffer at all. Immortal Master Jiang, what mission should we take? The stinky monkey's heart was in a mess. He couldn't make up his mind with high risks and high rewards. Take the 10-star mission, Blackwater Lake Hunt. Jiang Tian raised his hand and pointed as he slowly said. As soon as those words were spoken, the crowd became solemn. Everyone looked at Jiang Tian with faces full of disbelief. Then, there was a buzz, like a group of flies being startled, and everyone whispered to each other. Blackwater Lake Hunt, 10-star mission. It's said that there are 4 demon beasts with Foundation establishment combat power guarding it. I heard that some time ago, a 3rd-level Foundation establishment elder of Jinsong Peak, Jiang Hailang, died there. He was eaten by the blue-eyed toad until only half of his body was left. There's such a thing. The peak master of Jinsong Peak, Jiang Haishan, personally took action and fought with the demon beasts for 6 hours. He didn't gain the slightest advantage, and I heard that he was seriously injured. When he returned to the peak, he ordered that from now on, all disciples have to take a detour. The Blackwater Lake is located at the foot of Jinsong Peak. Those toads often jump up and eat the people of Jinsong Peak, causing them to have to go in and out from the back door. Sigh, Jiang Shanhai has been wise all his life, but he's afraid of being blocked by a few toads. Speaking of which, it's really depressing. You can't say that the people of Jiang Shanhai are cowards. Those blue-eyed toads have very powerful dermic powers. If you go over, you'll die in minutes. That's right, I heard from my ancestors that the biggest blue-eyed toad was the mount of the great demon, Baizhe, a few hundred years ago. The Blackwater Lake belongs to the territory of the great demon, Baizhe. Who dares to provoke it? If it alarms the great demon, Baizhe, it'll be over. For a moment, everyone thought that Jiang Tian was a shameless idiot who actually dared to challenge the Blackwater Lake's hunting mission. Chapter 893. Seeing that Jiang Tian had chosen this mission, the shop assistant was also shocked. Then, he smiled bitterly. Little brother, let me remind you that this mission can only be completed by a mid-stage Foundation establishment cultivator. In Demon Cave Mountain, this mission is called an impossible mission. It's very dangerous. I know. Jiang Tian said calmly. Immortal Master Jiang, this mission costs 1,000,005 essence crystals. We don't have that much money. Xiao Beishan pulled Jiang Tian to the side and said awkwardly. You can borrow it. The shop assistant came over like a ghost and said with a smile. How about this? We don't need to buy their information. We can just kill them. Jiang Tian said indifferently. How can we do that? Immortal Master Jiang, you must be careful. The stinky monkey was so scared that he almost jumped up. At this moment, the shop assistant came over and smiled. I'm afraid you'll be eaten alive if you try to sneak in without knowing anything. Besides, if you don't have enough money to buy the information, you won't be able to accept the mission. Even if you kill those blue-eyed toads, you won't be able to exchange them for the mission reward. That's 10,000,005 essence crystals. Ha, how do you know the uses of those blue-eyed toads? If I kill them and refine them into pills, I'll get more than 10,000,005 essence crystals. Jiang Tian glanced at him lazily and sneered. Good words can't persuade a damned fool. Since you want to die, I won't stop you. The shop assistant flicked his sleeves and left. Immortal Master Jiang, are we really going? The stinky monkey was bewildered. This matter was too dangerous. Fellow Taoist Jiang, what you said makes sense. Why spend 1,000,005 essence crystals to buy information? With me here, there's no need at all. At this moment, a hearty laugh sounded. A cultivator in a dirty Taoist robe walked over with a majestic gait. He carried a huge sword on his back and a small pouch on his waist. His appearance was strange, and he had horns on his head. His mouth was wide like a shark's, and his face was as dark as charcoal. He had a large beard that was hard and thick, and each strand was as stiff as a steel brush. He looked extraordinarily valiant and domineering. He was very rough and heroic, just like Yan Qixia in Ye Shaoqian. Giant Sword Sect Cultivator. And there are 5 huge swords in his chest. He's an elder. You're right. This is the elder of the Giant Sword Sect, one of the 9 sects, Taoist Graphite. 4th level of Foundation Establishment. That's right. This person is very powerful. He is of the same generation as the Heavenly Star Palace's Palace Master, Heaven and Earth Taoist, Li Longyuan. Seeing this, everyone's eyes were filled with dread. They opened up a path for Taoist Graphite to pass. Jiang Tian stopped, glanced at him, and said, Fellow Taoist, what advice do you have for me? Actually, Grandpa Taoist has also accepted a mission to kill that blue-eyed toad, but I need a few companions. Taoist Graphite said haughtily, why don't we team up? After this is done, I'll give you 1,000,005 essence crystals. Grandpa Taoist is at the 4th level of Foundation Establishment. I'm confident that I can kill those toads. You just need to take care of my food and lodging for a few days and help me kill a few small monsters. If you're sensible and obedient, I'll bring you into the Giant Sword Sect. I'll personally guide you on the Supreme Sword Path. Some people looked at Jiang Tian with envy, whispering to each other and discussing spiritedly. This is a sure-win deal, that's right. What a great opportunity. I can train with Graphite Immortal Master and even have the chance to become his disciple. After Taoist Graphite finished speaking, he stood there arrogantly, as if waiting for Jiang Tian to kowtow and express his gratitude. Taoist Master Jiang, accept it. What a good opportunity. The stinky monkey winked. That's the Giant Sword Sect. Even Xiao Yingluo was excited. The Giant Sword Sect, one of the 9 sects, was second only to the Heavenly Star Palace. If they could become a disciple, it would be a great opportunity. However, Jiang Tian smiled faintly and said, I'm sorry. I'm not interested. Find someone else. With that, he walked away. Taoist Master Jiang, why don't you reconsider? Xiao Yingluo and the others were stunned. They couldn't believe it and didn't understand, but they still followed him. Grandpa Taoist gave you a chance, but you didn't cherish it. Taoist Graphite's face turned cold. He flicked his sleeves and said disdainfully, you're just a few insignificant martial artists. How dare you challenge the Blackwater Lake hunting mission? You're courting death. Taoist Master Jiang, why didn't you agree? Xiao Yingluo asked, puzzled. Although Qiao Beishan and the stinky monkey didn't say it explicitly, their faces were full of regret and disappointment. They seemed to have some resentment towards Jiang Tian. According to him, he clearly has the ability to complete the mission alone. Why did he bring us along? Is there such a good thing in the world? Jiang Tian asked. You mean? Xiao Yingluo frowned. Also, he's an elder of the Giant Sword Sect. Why didn't he have any disciples accompanying him? Jiang Tian asked again. Well, maybe he likes to be free and didn't bring any disciples. Xiao Yingluo thought for a while and said. I heard that although his cultivation is strong, it seems that all his disciples have died, the stinky monkey suddenly said. According to my guess, this person likes to use his teammates as bait or meat shields. Jiang Tian said lightly, I just found out that the cloth bag at his waist smelled of blue magpie grass. Oh, blue magpie grass. It said that it's specially used to control toads. You'll collapse after eating it. The stinky monkey's cultivation was low, but he was very proficient in all kinds of poisons. I understand now. Xiao Yingluo slapped her thigh and exclaimed. That blue-eyed toad is very intelligent. If Taoist Graphite hastily threw out the blue magpie grass to poison it, the blue-eyed toad wouldn't eat it. So, he would let us bring the blue magpie grass and let the blue-eyed toad eat us while swallowing the blue magpie grass. Then, he could. Xiao Yingluo was so shocked that her face turned pale. She said in a trembling voice, looking at his heroic and detached appearance, I thought he was a Taoist master. I never expected him to be so vicious. The reason why I don't have any disciples is probably related to this, Jiang Tian said lightly. Using disciples as bait, isn't that a little too despicable? Yi Tianren, who had been silent, suddenly frowned. This is the cultivation world. Cruel and heartless. The so-called immortals don't have much higher moral standards. They're even more despicable. Jiang Tian's eyes flashed with a trace of vicissitudes. He shook his head inside. Jiang Tian had cultivated for 10,000 years and had seen many cultivation civilizations. He had also seen all kinds of cultivators. There were many who would rather die than themselves. There were countless cultivators who would shift the blame to others. Moreover, in battle, many cultivators loved to deceive the people closest to them. It was often the most common situation for a master to cheat a disciple and a disciple to cheat a master. Because the other party was unguarded, the success rate was the highest. There were also those who used the other party as a furnace and used them to refine pills. It could be said to be inhumane. Are we going to the Blackwater Lake now? Xiao Yingluo asked. No. There's no hurry, we still need to buy a few things. Jiang Tian said lightly, I'm afraid we won't have time until tomorrow. They returned to Jade Well Peak. It was already very late, so they settled down first. Chu Yunxiu was extremely disgusted with Jiang Tian and assigned him a small and airless guest room. The people living next to it were all handymen, cooks, and the like. This woman is too much. Yi Tianren frowned and was about to flare up. Sister Xiu, what's the matter, I'll ask. Xiao Yingluo was also very dissatisfied and wanted to reason with her. Forget it. Rest early. But Jiang Tian didn't care. He washed up hastily and rested for the night. The next morning, Jiang Tian ate a simple meal and immediately brought a few people to the Jade Well Trading Company. Mr. Jiang, I heard from the mission hall that you were going to the Blackwater Lake to hunt blue-eyed toads. Why are you back? Coincidentally, Chu Yunxiu was here to inspect and check the accounts. When she saw Jiang Tian, she immediately sneered and asked. Yesterday, she deliberately arranged Jiang Tian to stay at the handyman disciple's residence, but he didn't have the slightest reaction. The strong cultivators were all arrogant and couldn't be offended. How could they be as easy to bully as Jiang Tian? It could be seen that this person was simply a waste. The news spread so quickly. Maybe she deliberately inquired about him. Jiang Tian muttered secretly. Do you have butterfly-leafed mugwort, purple-striped radish vine, and purple toad oil? Jiang Tian couldn't be bothered with her and asked a shop assistant. Purple toad oil is available. But purple-striped radish vine and butterfly-leafed mugwort can be seen everywhere. They're very cheap, so we don't sell them. You can just go outside and find some. The little shop assistant said lazily. Immortal Master Jiang, what do you want these for? Do you want to use them to kill blue-eyed toads? Chu Yunxiu said mockingly. Jiang Tian ignored her and said, give us a big jar of purple toad oil. Ba Shan, you pay for it. With that, He walked out quickly. Brother Jiang Tian, wait for me. Xiao Yingluo originally wanted to talk to Chu Yunxiu about Jiang Tian, but seeing Jiang Tian leave in a hurry, she could only stomp her feet and follow him out. This girl has been bewitched by the devil. She must be cheated of money and sex. To kill blue-eyed toads, is she playing house? Looking at Xiao Yingluo's back, Chu Yunxiu snorted disdainfully. Chapter 894. At this time, Jiang Tian had already come to a short mountain at the foot of Jade-Well Peak. He used his divine senses to search for butterfly-leafed mugwort and purple-striped wisteria. However, the good thing was that there was indeed a lot of butterfly-leafed mugwort and purple-striped wisteria. Jiang Tian quickly found a large pile. At this time, Xiao Beishan also rushed over with a bucket full of purple toad oil and shouted. Brother Jiang, I bought it. This thing only cost 10 crystals. Can it be used to kill blue-eyed toads? Blue-eyed toads like to live in places where mosquito beasts live. This thing is used to kill mosquito beasts. Jiang Tian said. Once those mosquito beasts are nourished by that spiritual item and mutated, I'm afraid they'll be even more terrifying than the blue-eyed toads. And there are so many of them that we can't kill them all. We can only use the butterfly-leafed mugwort smoke screen to block them. Mosquito beasts? What's that? Xiao Yingluo and the rest were confused. They had never heard of it. Jiang Tian just smiled and couldn't be bothered to explain. In fact, Jiang Tian's goal wasn't the blue-eyed toads at all, but something more important. Something that gave birth to a super demon beast like the blue-eyed toads. But this knowledge was too ancient and mysterious. Xiao Yingluo and the rest probably couldn't understand it at all. Little brother, you're going to kill the blue-eyed toads? At this time, a cold voice suddenly sounded, and a figure leaped over like a light bird. This woman was wearing a moon-white Taoist robe. Her chest was high, her waist was slender, and her figure was graceful. She came over gracefully like a spring flower shining on water. Only a layer of gauze covered her face, and her true face couldn't be seen. Yes. Jiang Tian nodded. Then why don't you team up with us? The woman said coldly. This time, we have many prodigies, and the reward is generous. Sure. The stinky monkey immediately jumped up. Although this woman's face was covered by a white gauze, just by the white skin and sharp chin exposed, one could tell that she was definitely a stunning beauty. Jiang Tian glared at the stinky monkey. The latter stuck out his tongue. Jiang Tian did not reply. He found a wooden stick and tied the butterfly-leafed mugwort onto it with purple-striped wisteria. He soaked it in purple toad oil for a while before handing it over. Since you look good, I'll sell it to you at a cheap price. If you can stop the mosquito beasts, just give me 100,000 low-grade 5-1 crystal stones. These days, Xiao Yingluo was the one paying for all the food and entertainment. Although Jiang Tian was carefree and unrestrained, he still felt that it was inconvenient sometimes. It was better to earn some money. As the name implied, the purple toad oil was extracted from the corpse oil of a type of purple toad that was roasted to a crisp. It also contained numerous toxins and had a fishy and pungent smell. What are you doing? The masked woman immediately retreated a few steps. When she recalled Jiang Tian's words, she covered her mouth and nose with her fair and delicate hands and teased, "You greedy thief, these things only add up to a few crystal stones. You want to sell them to me for 100,000 crystal stones? Do you think I'm a fool?" Brother Jiang Tian, this woman is not easy to fool. We have to find someone like my brother. Xiao Yingluo tugged at Jiang Tian's sleeve and whispered. Sister, your brother, do I look stupid? Xiao Beishan was so depressed that he stomped his feet. Jiang Tian said calmly, "You're such a beautiful fairy. If you want to kill the blue-eyed toads, you'll definitely encounter the mosquito beasts. Without this thing, you'll definitely be at a disadvantage. You'll be sucked until you're all skin and bones. Then, you won't be beautiful anymore." Although the masked woman felt that Jiang Tian was lying to her, she couldn't help but feel a little happy when Jiang Tian praised her beauty. She snorted and smiled faintly. "All right, greedy little liar, don't try to cheat me. You're so young and so handsome. Instead of walking the right path, you want to cheat me. Be careful or I'll spank you. Be careful or I'll spank you." This was Qing'er's favorite catchphrase. Her voice was soft and somewhat similar to Qing'er's. Jiang Tian was stunned for a moment, and his eyes revealed deep longing and depression. The masked beauty saw that Jiang Tian's clothes were strange and exposed his arms and legs. He must be a low-level errand boy who didn't even have suitable clothes and looked like a fool. She couldn't help but pity him. She smiled bitterly and said, "Look at how poorly you're dressed. You must be a child from a poor family. I'll give you some crystals. Hurry up and go home." With that, she reached out and grabbed Jiang Tian's hand. She slapped a bag of 5 essence crystals into Jiang Tian's hand and floated away. "Damn, although I didn't succeed, being treated as a beggar is still a source of income. It's easy to earn money outside." Smelly Monkey opened the bag and smiled with exultation. "This is a mid-grade 5 essence crystal. One is equivalent to 100 low-grade 5 essence crystal. There are dozens of them, which is equivalent to a few thousand crystals. It seems that we're not the only ones who want to kill the blue-eyed toads." Yi Tianren said worriedly. "Also, that woman's aura was so strong. I'm afraid she's at the Foundation Establishment level." Foundation Establishment level. That means she can be on the prodigy roll. Xiao Beishan and the other two exclaimed. "Look at her Taoist robe. She should be from the Heartless sect. She can't be Fairy Miao Yi. She's my idol." Xiao Yingluo said with a look of fascination. Those who reached the Foundation Establishment level before the age of 30 were all prodigies. In the Heavenly Star Small World, there was a prodigy roll. Those who could be on it were all amazing people. And Fairy Miao Yi was ranked 5th on the prodigy roll. There were only a few people in front of him, including the Daozi of Qing Xian. Who cares? Anyway, other than us, no one can kill the blue-eyed toads. Jiang Tian smiled disdainfully and continued to look for butterfly-leafed mugwort and purple-striped wisteria to make more torches. Seeing that Jiang Tian's job was very simple, Xiao Yingluo thought for a while and returned to Yujing Peak to find Chu Yunxiu. "Sister Yunxiu, Brother Jiang is really amazing. Can you arrange a better job for him?" Xiao Yingluo begged. "It's too unfair for him to live in such a bad place. Don't worry, being a servant disciple is only temporary. I'll arrange a suitable position for him," Chu Yunxiu said. "All right." Xiao Yingluo had no choice. "Do you like him?" Chu Yunxiu suddenly asked. "No way. Are you kidding me? I treat him as an elder and respect him as a big brother." Xiao Yingluo averted her eyes and blushed. "You have to choose carefully. Those from Earth are all weak. They're not worthy of you." Chu Yunxiu smiled. "I think Huang Zhizhong, the son of Hall Master Huang Biao, is very good. He's now a senior shopkeeper and will be a hall master in 10 years. I still have things to do, I'll leave first." Xiao Yingluo fled. "What are you going to do? Are you really going to hunt blue-eyed toads?" Chu Yunxiu asked with a smile but didn't stop her. In her opinion, Jiang Tian was wandering around just to avoid her, afraid that she would expose his true colors. Even if Jiang Tian really went to the Blackwater Lake, he would probably be defeated in minutes. This would also let Xiao Yingluo see his true colors. The starry sky was dark and miasma filled the sky. That night, Jiang Tian and the others, who were fully prepared, rode a white giant-back eagle and flew in the direction of the Blackwater Lake under the faint sky. Although they had to bypass some spiritual tides, thunder and lightning storms, and the nests of demon beasts and birds. But the Blackwater Lake was only a few dozen kilometers away from Yujing Peak, and the giant-back eagle was extremely fast. So, It only took them 2 hours to arrive. At the foot of Jinsong Peak, there was a lake with a radius of 20 kilometers, and the black lake water was as thick as ink. The lake water had a demonic smell, and from time to time, there were bursts of black gas rising into the sky, and the stench was unpleasant. The surrounding trees not only didn't wither, but were even more exuberant. They were much taller than ordinary trees, but there was a bit of evil in them. In the dim light, huge branches stretched to the sky like a devil's palm, covering the sky and the sun. Sure enough, it was as Yi Tianren had guessed. There were already a lot of people gathered here. There were hundreds of cultivators and warriors. The cultivators were basically at the Qi refinement level, while the warriors were basically at the transformative realm or even the divine realm. There were monks, Taoists, and laymen. They were in groups of 3 or 5, each occupying a position, sitting or standing by the bonfire. It seemed that they came from different sects and forces. Boom! Jiang Tian's divine sense pushed out like a tide and instantly covered the entire Blackwater Lake. He immediately determined the best position, raised his hand, and pointed. Land there. Whoosh! The giant back eagle landed on the ground. After they landed, they found that the surroundings were covered in black mud, and there were many human and demon beast skeletons. It was a ghastly sight. Fortunately, Jiang Tian and the others landed on a meadow, so it wasn't so dirty. Were these killed by those blue-eyed toads? Xiao Yingluo frowned, her eyes full of fear. Just a few toads, what's there to be afraid of? Can you kill them with a raise of your hand? Jiang Tian smiled indifferently. He said that the blue-eyed toads are toads that can be killed with a raise of his hand. Oh my god, that's a demon beast in the late Foundation establishment stage. Maybe it has already formed a demon core. Shameless boasting, the ignorant are fearless. They're just a few warriors. They're short-sighted and don't know the horror of the blue-eyed toads. As soon as this remark came out, many cultivators looked at Jiang Tian as if they were looking at a lunatic, and some even sneered. Bai Yun, go outside and wait for us. When you hear my whistle, come and greet us immediately. Seeing that Jiang Tian was so calm, Xiao Yingluo felt a little relieved and patted the giant back eagle's head. The giant back eagle had gained some intelligence. It nodded and let out a cry before flying off into the distance. Immortal Master Jiang, do you really have the confidence to kill these toads? Have you killed them before? The stinky monkey was a little worried. Yes, and I've killed a lot of them. Once this thing finds its Ming Men, it can even kill a warrior. Wait, just listen to my command. Jiang Tian smiled indifferently. This blue-eyed toad was very common in the cultivation world. In fact, it was more accurate to call it a three-eyed toad. Its third eye was on the top of its head and was usually closed. It would only open when its body was about to explode. But this third eye was also where its Ming Men was. The blue-eyed toad was covered in poisonous lumps all over its body and was indestructible. If one only relied on brute force to kill a third-level Foundation establishment toad, it would probably take a cultivator in the late Foundation establishment stage. But as long as they found its Ming Men, they would be able to kill even Xiao Yingluo. Chapter 895. This was Jiang Tian's advantage. His powerful cultivation base and heaven-defying techniques were only one aspect. More importantly, his experience far exceeded anyone else's. He could be said to be the encyclopedia of the cultivation world. This person can really brag. He has also killed many blue-eyed toads. As far as I know, blue-eyed toads are extremely difficult to breed. It seems that there are only a few of them in Star World. For 100 years, no blue-eyed toad has been successfully hunted. This is just to pick up girls. He's just bluffing. Many cultivators saw this and laughed lightly, thinking that Jiang Tian was a lecher who seduced young girls. These cultivators by the lake were only whispering. What shameless boasting! With your insignificant cultivation base, you can't even withstand a single blow. How can you kill blue-eyed toads? But a voice that was like a large bell and full of sarcasm came from the sky. A huge white one appeared in the distant sky, flapping its wings and gliding over rapidly. This white one was snow white, and its feathers were as if carved from white jade. It was incomparably majestic, and its pair of wings were 30 meters long. It looked like a Boeing passenger plane. Compared to the white swan, the giant back eagle suddenly paled in comparison, revealing a bit of shabbiness and coarseness. On the back of the white swan, there was an exquisite pavilion. White jade walls, green jade tiles, gold railings, and pearls were the lamps. Under the faint starlight, it emitted a bright and dazzling light. This pavilion was not only extremely luxurious, but it was also carved with exquisite dao patterns. It was made by a mighty foundation establishment stage cultivator and contained powerful magical power fluctuations that could withstand several attacks from a golden core powerhouse. Above the pavilion, a large flag embroidered with gold and silver fluttered in the wind. Written on it was a bold and domineering word. Jiang. Young Peak Master Jiang and the others are here. Quickly welcome them. Many cultivators on the ground saw this and scrambled to stand up. They straightened their clothes and stood with their hands by their sides, revealing respectful and nervous expressions. This ride is simply too cool. It would be great if we could get one someday. When Qiao Beishan saw this, his face was filled with envy, and his saliva flowed out. In this world, the white one was much more luxurious and valuable than the giant-backed eagle. Adding on this pavilion, its value would probably reach 10 million crystals. A commoner like him wouldn't even dare to think about it. Stop looking, this is Jiang Yunhe's ride. If you anger them, it will be very troublesome. At the side, the smelly monkey's pupils constricted as he said in a trembling voice. Jiang Yunhe was at the first layer of the foundation establishment realm. His strength was unparalleled, and he was considered an outstanding figure among the younger generation of the Devil Cave Mountain. He was almost invincible. Moreover, he was the son of Golden Pine Peak's Peak Master. In Demon Cave Mountain, his words carried enormous weight. Who would dare to provoke him? Whoosh! Bailuan landed on the ground and saw a group of 5 people, 3 men and 2 women, fully armed. Under the escort of many experts, they walked over with majestic gait. Immediately, many of the cultivators who were waiting went up and kowtowed. The person in the lead was in his 20s. He was dressed in snow-white clothes and had sword-like eyebrows. His face was handsome and feminine, but his eyes were gloomy and his lips were slightly thin. He gave off a harsh and emotionless feeling. It's really him, Jiang Yunhe. The smelly monkey's pupils constricted as he looked behind him. It was a handsome monk in white robes. He was tall and heroic, and he held a staff with red prayer beads hanging from it. This monk was also in his 20s. He had a benevolent appearance and was extraordinarily mighty. However, when his eyes opened and closed, there was lightning lingering around them. It was obvious that he had a lightning attribute cultivation technique. This should be Monk de Xian of the Demon Suppressing Temple. The Demon Suppressing Temple is one of the 3 major sects, second only to the Heavenly Star Palace. It seems that he has already cultivated the Demon Suppressing Lightning technique. Qiao Beishan looked at the monk with a face of worship. He was so excited that his body trembled slightly. The other man was dressed in black with a ripple embroidered on his chest. His face was pale and he was arrogant, giving off a feeling of arrogance and domineering. He was the one who had just ridiculed Jiang Tian. It seems to be the son of the Jishui Peak Master, Wu Tengying. Someone in the crowd said in horror. So it's him. The smelly monkey's face flashed with fear, and he did not dare to look him in the eye. It was said that this Wu Tengying not only had the cultivation of the first level of foundation establishment, but also had a fierce temper and killed people at the slightest provocation. Even if the mayor of Qingyang town saw him, he would have to avoid him. Among the 2 women, one of them was about 18 or 19 years old. She was dressed in black, and she was tall with a high chest and a slender waist. There was a mischievous smile at the corner of her mouth, giving off a mischievous feeling. She had a purple gold bell wrapped around her snow-white wrists and ankles. When she walked, it jingled and made a crisp and pleasant sound. The daughter of the Heavenly Star City Lord, Ding Lingdang. It is said that she is a genius and has already reached the second level of foundation establishment. Her strength is even stronger than Sister Chu Yunxiu's. Xiao Yingluo looked at this woman, and her beautiful eyes burst with a ray of worship. Her heart was burning with passion. The other woman was dressed in a plain Taoist robe and was dressed like a nun. She was 16 years old and her face was beautiful, but her eyes were as calm as an ancient well. It was as if nothing in the world was worthy of her attention for a moment. She is the direct disciple of the Heartless Sect Master, Fairy Miao Yi. It is said that she is extremely talented and her cultivation is unfathomable. Compared to Ding Lingdang, her cultivation can only be higher. It's just that she is obsessed with cultivation and does not care about worldly affairs. She rarely fights, so her exact cultivation is unknown. As soon as this was said, the crowd was silent. The Heartless Sect's strength was on par with the Heavenly Star Palace. As the successor of the Heartless Sect Master and the eldest disciple of the Sect Master, Fairy Miao Yi was even more highly regarded. It was said that when she was born, an auspicious sign descended from the heavens. Within a radius of 10 miles, spiritual energy formed a vortex and poured into her body. Obviously, her physique was very special and was a rare spiritual body. Among the younger generation, she was known as an outstanding talent. Whether in terms of cultivation or status, she was far superior to Ding Lingdang, Jiang Feishuan, Chu Yunxiu, and other female cultivators of the same generation. It was said that back then, the Heavenly Star Palace Master Li Longyuan's son, Qing Xian Daozi, had the intention of marrying Fairy Miao Yi. But in the end, it was left unsettled as if he had been rejected. Jiang Tian chuckled. This woman was the Taoist nun who had refused to sell him the torch. Although the white veil covering her face was a magic weapon, how could it hide from Jiang Tian's soul-devouring divine sense? Today, I'll have to trouble everyone to help me get rid of the blue-eyed toad. At this time, Jiang Yunhe looked around and spoke in a clear voice. As long as there is merit, this young master will definitely reward heavily. Even 1,000,005 essence crystals is not a problem. But that demon core cannot be embezzled. Understood. This demon core should be a gift for your fiancé, Chu Yunxiu. This blue-eyed toad is said to have existed since the birth of this continent and has a lifespan of more than 1,500 years. Obtaining the demon core and refining it into a great medicine, it really has endless benefits. Yes, I'm afraid it can push Miss Yunxiu to the middle stage of foundation establishment. Young Master Jiang is heroic. Everyone started to flatter him one after another. Jiang Yunhe smiled awkwardly and said in his heart, how could Chu Yunxiu have the qualifications to enjoy this kind of medicinal pill? She can at most be my concubine. This demon core is for Ding Lingdang. However, this Ding Lingdang was also extremely arrogant and ignored him. If not for the fact that she was poisoned and injured while hunting demonic beasts and urgently needed this blue-eyed toad's demon core to heal, she wouldn't have bothered with him. But there was nothing he could do about it. After all, she was the daughter of Tianxing City's city lord. However, all the hardships were worth it. As long as he could pursue her, then his future would be bright. Thinking of this, his heart was burning with passion. He cupped his fists and said, everyone, don't worry so much. Everyone, act according to the established plan. For this operation, Jiang Yunhe had planned for a long time and spent a lot of money to gather talents and elites from all sides. Moreover, he formulated a detailed strategy. At the rear, there were formation experts who set up 3 defensive formations as their base camp. On the shore about a kilometer away from the defensive formation, there was a huge pit with the rainstorm chaotic blade formation, a heaven-burning fire formation, and a winter solstice ice formation. Each of the 3 formations consumed millions of 5 essence crystals as formation materials, and dozens of formation refining experts painstakingly created them for 3 months. The 3 formations were superimposed, and the power increased tenfold. It could be said that every step was full of killing intent and was extremely dangerous. Even a golden core stage expert might not be able to withstand it. In addition, he also mobilized dozens of refinement stage experts from Jin Songfeng to carry heaven-shaking crossbows and be responsible for long-range attacks. The most important thing was Fairy Miao Yi and Monk De Xian, who were invited to help this time, were outstanding figures among their peers. Their combat power was unparalleled. Sister Ling Dang, if you get the demon core and refine it, it will definitely cure the fire poison in your body. Jiang Yunhe was quite confident. This battle could be said to be foolproof. He said with exultation. Young Peak Master Jiang, thank you. After it's done, I'll definitely treat you to a drink. Ding Lingdang smiled mischievously, her beautiful eyes looking at him. Hearing that, Xiao Yingluo was dumbfounded, and her heart was filled with shock and anger. He's hunting for the demon core for Miss Ding. Not for Sister Yunxiu. He's already Sister Yunxiu's fiancé. Sister Yunxiu also longed to meet him, but he avoided her and even tried to curry favor with someone else. They're only martial artists, why are they here? Please ask them to leave so that they won't be affected. At that moment, Fairy Miao Yi's gaze landed on Jiang Tian and the rest. Her beautiful face changed slightly, and she gently opened her red lips to remind them. Wu Tengeiying, chase these bastards away. Jiang Yunhe's gaze landed on Jiang Tian and the rest. He frowned slightly and revealed a look of impatience. Fairy Miao Yi was kind-hearted. Before luring the blue-eye toads out, she definitely had to ensure that unrelated people were not present. She had repeatedly emphasized this point before participating in the operation. These martial artists don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. With their insignificant cultivation, they still want to kill the blue-eye toads. Wu Tengeiying's face was full of ridicule as he flew towards Jiang Tian and the rest. His posture was arrogant as he roared loudly. Did you hear that? Young Peak Master Jiang ordered you to get lost. Don't be a hindrance here. Xiao Yingluo and the rest were shocked. Stinky Monkey hesitated for a moment, then pulled Jiang Tian's sleeve and whispered. Big brother Jiang, let's go. Anyway, we have nothing to lose, right? Why should we leave? Although Xiao Yingluo was a little unwilling, seeing that the other party had the advantage in numbers and powerhouses like Rain, she was helpless and could only mumble softly. Stinky girl, if you dare to talk nonsense again, I'll slap you to death. Wu Tengeiying's triangular eyes shot out a murderous glint as he shouted wildly. Trash, like you have the nerve to make a fool of yourself here. How dare you shout at me? Ignorant ants, don't you know that I can kill you like chickens and dogs? Chapter 896. Wu Tengeiying's eyes were arrogant, and he didn't put Jiang Tian and the rest in his eyes. Everyone, including Yi Tianren, exuded the aura of a martial artist. And martial artists were basically ants in this world. Even if they cultivated to the extreme, they couldn't be compared to beginner cultivators. As for Jiang Tian, there wasn't the slightest fluctuation of aura. He was obviously an ordinary person. Why are you so fierce? It's not like your family raised it. Xiao Yingluo was so scared that her face turned pale. She held Jiang Tian's right hand tightly and said in a trembling voice. It's not raised by their family, but by Jin Songfeng's Jiang family. Before Wu Tengeiying could say anything, Jiang Tian opened his mouth slowly. I heard that the Jiang family, like Jiang Haiba, repeatedly fed themselves to these toads. Last time, Jiang Haishan almost fed himself. It's obvious that they treat these toads as their ancestors. Otherwise, how could they feed them with their own flesh and blood? We want to kill their ancestors, and they're not even angry. And this Wu guy is obviously the Jiang family's lackey. Under the master's orders, how could he not bite and bark? Dead silence. Once these words came out, the whole place was dead silent. Many noises seemed to be absorbed by a huge sponge and not a drop was left. The huge lakeside became a still picture. Everyone looked at Jiang Tian dumbfoundedly, not daring to believe it. Jiang Tian's words were too vicious. With just one sentence, he had humiliated the Jiang clan of Jin Songfeng into a toad. No, to be precise, they were toads' descendants. Even more clearly, Wu Tengying was a dog. The key was that one shouldn't hit people in the face, and one shouldn't expose people's shortcomings. Jin Songfeng's Jiang family suffered heavy casualties because of the blue-eyed toads, and the mountain gate was open to the back. How tragic. And Jiang Tian just had to use this to talk about it. It was simply rubbing salt on the wound. These words were so poisonous and hurtful. One could imagine how Jiang Yunhe and Wu Tengying could take it. Indeed, with every word that Jiang Tian uttered, Jiang Yunhe's face became a shade gloomier. By the time Jiang Tian finished speaking, Jiang Yunhe's face was already covered in frost. His eyes were filled with frenzied killing intent. However, he did not attack Jiang Tian. No matter what, he was the young master of a peak with a powerful cultivation base and a respected status. If he were to attack a nobody, it would be a laughingstock. However, Wu Tengying had always liked to bully the weak without any scruples. He strode forward, pointed at Jiang Tian and shouted angrily, "Ant, kneel down and kowtow immediately. Otherwise, I'll tear you into pieces. Young Peak Master Wu, spare my life." When the smelly monkey saw this, he was so scared that his soul almost left his body. Cold sweat flowed down his body, and his knees went soft as he knelt on the ground. Seeing this, Wu Tengying was even more pleased. He laughed sinisterly and said, "Hee, are you afraid now? If you're afraid, kneel down and kowtow like him. I, the young Peak Master, will show mercy and spare your lives. Wu Tingshan, come back. Don't hurt him." Goddess Miao Yi shouted. "Sister Miao Yi, don't stop him. I think this kid is not simple." Meanwhile, Ding Lingdang looked at Jiang Tian with interest. Her beautiful eyes were full of curiosity. "Kneel down and kowtow." "Sure." Jiang Tian smiled faintly. Suddenly, he slammed his palm down. Boom! Vitality chi surged uneasily between heaven and earth, and thunder exploded. A 10-meter-long golden palm descended from the sky and pressed down on Wu Tingshan. "Open!" Wu Tingshan's expression changed drastically. He was both shocked and frightened. He punched the sky and pressed down on the giant palm. However, it was useless. Crack! Wu Tingshan's entire body was slammed into the mud a few meters deep. His skin and flesh were lacerated, and blood flowed out. The crowd fell into dead silence again. Everyone was dumbstruck, looking at Jiang Tian and Wu Tengying in disbelief. Their faces were filled with shock. "Now, who's the ant?" Jiang Tian smiled faintly. How is this possible? Didn't you have no cultivation?" Wu Tingshan was covered in mud. He jumped out of the mud pit and said in disbelief, "Whether I have cultivation or not, it's more than enough to torture a weakling like you." Jiang Tian smiled and slapped him again. Smack! Wu Tengying's cheek was smashed and blood dripped. He was sent flying more than 10 meters away again. "Bastard, I'm going to kill you." Wu Tengying's face was ferocious. The muscles on his body bulged, and a violent aura spread in all directions. He rushed toward Jiang Tian. Smack! Jiang Tian slapped him a few meters away. He said mockingly, "You don't know what's good for you. I swear I'll take revenge on you. I'll skin you alive, eat your flesh, and drink your blood." Wu Tengying was burning with anger. He rushed toward Jiang Tian again. At this time, his killing intent was wild. In this space, he had always bullied others. When had he ever been beaten up so miserably? "Is that so? I'm afraid you won't have the chance." Jiang Tian flicked his finger. A bloody hole appeared in Wu Tingshan's chest, and he fell to the ground. At this time, his eyes were still wide open. His face was full of shock, as if he could not believe that he had died in such a way. "What?" He killed Wu Tengying. That's the young peak master of Jishui Peak. He killed a first-stage foundation establishment cultivator with a flick of his finger. This cultivation is too terrifying. Everyone was dumbfounded. They could not believe it, and their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. How is this possible? Even Ding Lingdang's face changed drastically. Although she could see that Jiang Tian's cultivation was not ordinary, she did not expect Jiang Tian's cultivation to be so powerful. He killed a first-stage foundation establishment cultivator in an instant. Just how powerful was this person's cultivation? It was simply inconceivable. Fairy Miao Yi's cold face also revealed a look of astonishment. Wasn't this kid just a servant of Jade Well Peak? He even wanted to trick me with the mugwort leaf torch. How could his cultivation be so powerful? The next moment, she looked at Jiang Tian with disgust and frowned. Fellow Taoist, we were only advising you to leave this place. How could you kill someone so ruthlessly? Those who humiliate me, die. Jiang Tian's words were concise and comprehensive, but they were shocking. Knowing that she was being kind, Jiang Tian could not be bothered with her. Otherwise, she would have been dead by now. Everyone was so shocked that their faces turned pale. Where did this young man come from? He was too arrogant. This person has a bad temper and is so ruthless. Ding Lingdang stuck out her tongue and hid behind Fairy Miao Yi. This is troublesome. I'm afraid Jishui Peak is going to explode. Zen Master Da Xian smiled bitterly. Who are you? You arrogant ant. You have repeatedly provoked me, Jin Songfeng, and even dared to kill someone in front of me. Do you want to be my enemy? However, Jiang Tian was enraged. A domineering aura soared into the sky and closed in on Jiang Tian. Everyone knew that Wu Tengying was his underling. Now that Jiang Tian had killed him on the spot, it was a challenge to his supreme dignity. So what if I'm your enemy, Jin Songfeng? I'm just a piece of trash that was eaten by a toad. Jiang Tian laughed loudly. Once these words were spoken, it infuriated everyone present. The smelly monkey was so frightened that he almost cried. One had to know that many of the sects, famous mountains, cities, and families present had been eaten by the blue-eyed toads. Wasn't he calling everyone trash? This guy has such a vicious mouth. Even Ding Lingdang's face turned cold as she looked at Jiang Tian coldly. Fellow Taoist, which sect are you from? Which famous mountain are you from? What's your name? Zen Master Da Xian put his palms together and smiled bitterly. You killed Wu Tengying so mercilessly. We have to give his family an explanation after this. I'm an itinerant cultivator, Taoist Zhen. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. I don't belong to any sect or sect. If you want to challenge me, you just have to announce it in the mission hall. His current goal was to suppress the entire hidden sect and the various small worlds. The Tao name that he casually picked was worthy of its name. Taoist suppressing concealment. I've never heard of such a person. Everyone looked at each other. Suppressing concealment. Suppressing the entire hidden sect's small world. What arrogance! Jiang Yunhe snorted coldly. Jiang Yunhe, you're not convinced? Come and fight with me. I don't mind teaching you a lesson. Jiang Tian said with disdain. You! Impudent! Let's attack together. There are so many experts and so many geniuses. Can you handle it? Jiang Yunhe was furious as he gritted his teeth. But in the end, he didn't dare to step forward. He was only at the second level of foundation establishment, the same level as Wu Tengying. He really didn't have much confidence facing Jiang Tian. Experts? You guys are also considered experts. How dare you call yourself geniuses? You really know how to flatter yourselves. Who do you think you are? Just ants. Does everyone want to attack together? Come on. I welcome you. Jiang Tian said mockingly. At this moment, the smelly monkey had already stood up silently. Seeing Jiang Tian suppressing everyone, he couldn't help but feel proud and shouted loudly, "Yes, come on, let's fight. If you don't dare to fight, then you're a coward." The entire place was dead silent. No one dared to fight. Fairy Miao Yi's expression changed a few times, but she didn't say anything in the end. Fellow Taoist Jiang is so arrogant. You're talking about the trash that was eaten by the blue-eyed toads? A few people from my giant sword sect were also eaten. Are they also trash in your eyes? A thunderous roar descended from the sky, bringing with it endless power. It was like a mountain pressing down, bombarding the black waves and breaking the trees. Martial artists like the smelly monkey and Xiao Beishan almost fainted from the shock. The Qi refinement stage cultivators were on the verge of collapsing as they retreated continuously. Even Ding Lingdang and Jiang Yunhe, who were at the first or second level of the foundation establishment stage, couldn't withstand it. Their faces were as pale as paper. Only Fairy Miao Yi and Zen Master Da Xian remained unmoved. However, they still felt uncomfortable. It's Taoist graphite from the giant sword sect. Jiang Yunhe and the others were trembling from the shock. However, when they looked up at the sky, their faces were filled with joy. They saw Taoist graphite stepping on a broadsword that was like a sampan. It broke through the air, leaving a trail of turbulence in its wake. "Kid, aren't you arrogant? If you have the guts, you and Elder Graphite can continue to be arrogant." Wu Tengying's friends looked at Jiang Tian with ridicule as if they were looking at a dead man. Everyone thought that Jiang Tian would definitely bow his head and admit defeat in front of Taoist graphite. Even if he could kill Wu Tengying, who was at the first level of the foundation establishment stage, he didn't have the capital and courage to challenge Taoist graphite. One had to know that Taoist graphite was at the fourth level of the foundation establishment stage. He was an elder of the giant sword sect and an expert on the heavenly Tao list. Chapter 897. Stinking brat, hurry up and kneel down and beg for mercy. Jiang Yunhe was instantly revived. He was full of arrogance and his face was frivolous as he taunted. Taoist graphite was invited by us to help. You dare to kill our people. Taoist graphite will definitely make sure you die without a complete corpse. In this world, the Heavenly Star Palace, the 3 major sects, the 4 major cities, and dozens of large and small forces, among the tens of millions of people, graphite's strength was ranked in the top 500. Who would dare to provoke him? Moreover, the 4th level of foundation establishment had already crossed a watershed and belonged to the middle stage of foundation establishment. At most, even if Jiang Tian had the cultivation of the 3rd level of foundation establishment, he was still only in the early stage of foundation establishment. Compared to graphite, this cultivation was fundamentally different. It could be said that the difference was thousands of miles and could not be compared. It could be said that if Taoist graphite were to make a move, he could completely crush Jiang Tian. In the cultivation world, the strong were respected, and this area was even more lawless. How could Jiang Tian not bow his head and admit defeat? So what if I call you trash? Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian rolled his eyes, sneered, and disdainfully said, 4th level of foundation establishment is amazing. How can a frog at the bottom of a well know the vastness of the world? Hiss. As soon as these words came out, the whole audience gasped. Everyone looked at Jiang Tian as if they were looking at a madman. This brat is crazy. Someone shook his head. Maybe an elite disciple of some small sect just left the mountain and doesn't know how cruel this world is. A foundation establishment powerhouse that was cultivated with great difficulty doesn't know the dangers of the world. If his parents died, the sect would be heartbroken. Some people looked at Jiang Tian sympathetically and regretfully shook their heads and sighed. This brat could kill a first-level foundation establishment cultivator in seconds, so he could be considered a talent. But he didn't know the principle of hiding his strength and biding his time. He even dared to disrespect Taoist graphite, so he could only fall here. Qiao Yingluo never thought that Jiang Tian could cause so much trouble. Even when facing a middle-stage foundation establishment powerhouse, he was still so overbearing. She was so scared that her face was pale and tears rolled down her cheeks. Young Peak Master Jiang, Sister Yunxiu, and I are sworn sisters. Please spare Mr. Jiang this time for her sake. Jiang Yunhe didn't even look at Xiao Yingluo and grinned. Alright, brat, if you have the guts, continue to be arrogant. I'll see how long you can be arrogant for. Good. You're really crazy. How dare you disrespect me? Stepping on his treasured sword, Daoist graphite arrived above Jiang Tian and the others. Floating high in the air, he threw down the cloth bag containing the blue magpie grass from his waist and said in a cold voice, "Take this backpack and lure those blue-eyed toads out for me. I'll spare your life. Fellow Daoist Jiang, if you lower your head and admit your mistake, I will plead for you in front of Daoist graphite." Fairy Miao Yi hesitated for a moment, then suddenly said with a cold voice. A bitter smile appeared on Daoist graphite's black face as he saw this. His murderous intent slowly receded like a tide. She was the eldest disciple of the Heartless sect and the future sect master. Even though Daoist graphite was an elder of the Giant Sword sect, he still had to give her some face. Everyone's eyes flashed in disbelief. Fairy Miao Yi cultivated the Heartless sword art, so her heart was emotionless and unfettered. She had always rejected people from 1,000 miles away and spoke bluntly. At this moment, she spoke up for Jiang Tian. It was clear that she cherished his talent. Thinking about it, it was normal. Jiang Tian looked to be in his 20s, but he could already kill a first-level foundation establishment cultivator and could be called a prodigy. If such a talent was brought into a large sect and nurtured for 20 years, it wasn't impossible for him to reach the late stage of foundation establishment. Sigh, I didn't expect Fairy Miao Yi to speak up. This brat's luck is really good. Yeah, his life is saved. If Fairy Miao Yi speaks up, I'm afraid Ji Shuifeng will also have to give face. What are you hesitating for? Hurry up and agree. Remember this lesson in the future. You have to know that there's always someone better out there. Everyone sighed with emotion. Many people thought that Jiang Tian was going to go with the flow. Ox-nosed old thief. You want me to be your bait? You must be tired of living. Hurry up and kneel down and kowtow to me. Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian ignored Fairy Miao Yi's persuasion. He flicked his sleeves and sneered. What a reckless little thief. Since you don't appreciate it, then I'll leave you to fend for yourself. Seeing this, Fairy Miao Yi pursed her lips. Her beautiful eyebrows furrowed, and her beautiful face froze. Although this person was extremely talented, he was too arrogant and did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. One had to know that Daoist graphite was not only at the mid-stage of foundation establishment. He was also known to be black-faced, black-hearted, and vicious. Since you offended him today, then wait for your bones to be ground to dust. Originally, when Wu Tengying provoked Jiang Tian, it was also because of her good intentions that made things worse. She still felt a little guilty towards Jiang Tian. But now that she saw Jiang Tian's smug look, she was ashamed and angry. We have such a thing to rely on and he still dares to provoke us. This brat is dead for sure. It saves me the trouble of making a move. After all, I don't have the confidence to win. Jiang Yunhe's lips curled into a mocking smile, as if Jiang Tian could not be more dead. Aunt, how dare you? Do you think I can't bear to kill you? Is that why you're so willful? Seeing that Fairy Miao Yi was not involved, Daoist graphite no longer had any scruples. He smiled eerily and his murderous aura soared to the sky. I'll take your corpse and control it with the puppet technique. I can also poison the toad. Suddenly, he did a somersault and pounced towards Jiang Tian. Both his palms were pushed towards Jiang Tian. Boom! Boom! Daoist graphite was very powerful. When he pushed out his palms, all the demonic qi and miasma spiritual qi within a radius of a few miles were sucked dry. They formed into two giant palms with a radius of 100 meters. They set off a whistling wind and pushed towards Jiang Tian. The huge flying sword was even more terrifying. Under the control of his divine thought, the sharp sword rays continued to split and blossom, increasing in number. In the end, it was like a torrent of sword chi that stretched for dozens of feet across the sky, dragging out streams of white air turbulence as it violently slashed over. Its lethality was enough to destroy a cruiser. Brother Jiang, quickly lower your head and admit your mistake. At this time, Qiao Yingluo was so anxious that her tears were flowing. But then, she saw an unbelievable scene. Trash. Who gave you the courage to bully the weak? In the face of the monstrous pressure, Jiang Tian was like a cool breeze. He snorted and flicked his finger. Clang! The golden finger ray turned into a dazzling golden light. It was untraceable, like an antelope hanging its horn. It hit the tip of the huge sword at an incredible angle. Under Jiang Tian's finger, the overwhelming sword chi and sword light were like paper. They could not even hold on for a second before they completely shattered. This huge sword, which was made by a master swordsmith and could be called a spirit treasure, first had a crack. Then, the crack spread all over the sword like a spider web. It shattered like a piece of paper. After shattering the huge sword and sword rays, the golden finger ray did not slow down. It even sped up a bit. There was a puff. The golden finger ray burst out at a speed 10 times the speed of sound and instantly pierced Taoist Graphite's chest. His body, which had been as hard as steel after more than 200 years of cultivation, exploded in the air and turned into a crystal rain of flesh, scattering everywhere. Jiang Tian only pointed. Breaking the sword chi, breaking the heavy sword, and killing Taoist Graphite. Everyone was shocked. There was dead silence. Everyone stared at Jiang Tian, dumbfounded. Stormy waves were set off in their hearts, and they could no longer calm down. This was Taoist Graphite. He was an elder of the giant sword sect with a mid-stage foundation establishment cultivation. He was a figure of the same generation as the master of the Heavenly Star Palace, Li Longyuan. He was qualified to talk to him. Especially his swordsmanship, which was known for its fierce attacks, powerful momentum, and powerful sword chi. Since his debut, he had rarely met a worthy opponent in the past 200 years. But today, he was killed by Jiang Tian. How is this possible? Jiang Yunhe's smile suddenly froze. He could no longer smile. The corners of his eyes trembled violently. His eyes had been replaced by deep fear and shock. What? He is so powerful. The purple bells on Ding Lingdang's wrists and ankles jingled. Like her heartstrings, they trembled crazily and violently. Her beautiful eyes were wide open, and her pretty face was filled with disbelief. She thought that she had overestimated Jiang Tian's strength, but she did not expect that she had seriously underestimated Jiang Tian. Her impression and evaluation of Jiang Tian were refreshed once again. This little thief, he actually won. Fairy Miao Yi's delicate body trembled slightly. Her beautiful eyes stared deeply at Jiang Tian, as if she was getting to know Jiang Tian again. When did such an expert appear in the Demon Cave Mountain? Where did he come from? Zen Master Da Xian was also shocked. He gripped his Zen staff tightly, and an unprecedented sense of danger surged in his heart. This brat, could it be that he used some evil technique? How could he kill a mid-stage foundation establishment expert? Even more people felt that it was unbelievable. Damn, Brother Jiang is actually so powerful. The Qiao siblings also felt as if they were in a dream. Everything was so unreal. Who else wants to challenge my brother Jiang? Whoever is not convinced, come out. The smelly monkey was glad that he did not kneel this time. He wiped the cold sweat on his forehead, puffed out his chest, and stood straight with his hands on his waist. He looked disdainfully at the crowd and said proudly, I'm not talking about you guys, and I'm not targeting anyone. Compared to my brother Jiang, you are all trash. Fighting chickens among trash. The entire place was dead silent. Only the sound of leaves falling could be heard. In an instant. So under Jiang Tian's pressure, they trembled and kept quiet out of fear, not daring to make a sound. Chapter 898. Normally, these geniuses, elites, and young masters of the peak lords were all people of high status. No one dared to humiliate them like this. But now, even if the stinky monkey spoke, they were afraid of Jiang Tian's power and did not dare to refute him. Immortal Master Jiang, it's all my fault for being blind and not recognizing you. I've offended you. Please be magnanimous and forgive me for my transgressions. When he came into contact with Jiang Tian's indifferent and cold gaze, Jiang Yunhe was terrified to the point his body trembled, then he lowered his arrogant head and bowed deeply. The bean-sized beads of cold sweat on his forehead flowed down like a small stream, dripping onto the grass. Immortal Master Jiang, please forgive us for offending Immortal Master's heavenly prestige. The others also bowed respectfully with cupped fists. Those who were timid even knelt on the ground. Even Zen Master De Xian, who had stayed out of the matter from the beginning, put his palms together and nodded at Jiang Tian to show his respect. I'm not an immortal master or a big shot. So, I'm not that forgiving. Jiang Tian's eyes suddenly turned cold. He stretched out his hand and grabbed at Jiang Yunhe from afar. Whoosh! A vast and surging suction force appeared out of thin air like a black hole in the universe. It instantly pulled Jiang Yunhe toward Jiang Tian. Break! Jiang Yunhe's expression changed drastically. His true essence surged wildly. Qi! 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 More than 10 sharp and dazzling sword rays burst out from his body, stabbing, twisting, winding, cutting, and cutting in all directions. He wanted to cut this strange force field. But it was useless. Jiang Yunhe was like a little chick caught in the claws of an eagle. He flailed his arms and legs and struggled in vain. He crossed hundreds of meters and was caught in front of Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian had already let go of his right hand, but Jiang Yunhe was still floating in the air, motionless. The power of restriction. Fairy Miao Yi's beautiful eyes were wide open. Her pretty little face was filled with disbelief. What is his cultivation level? Originally, Zen Master De Xian wanted to help, but when he saw this scene, his pupils suddenly shrank to the size of a needle tip. Fear was written all over his face, and he slowly withdrew his foot. Restriction spells were generally based on talismans and formations. For someone like Jiang Tian, who was able to create restriction spells out of thin air, it usually required a late-stage foundation establishment cultivator. Pa! Jiang Tian gave a crisp slap to Jiang Yunhe's face and sneered, so what if I'm your enemy? Come and fight me. You! Let me go. Jiang Yunhe was beaten until blood spurted out from his nostrils. He struggled angrily and glared at Jiang Tian. His eyes were about to spew out raging flames. Jiang Tian's slap to his face in front of everyone was not heavy, but it was full of humiliation. It was simply a great humiliation that he could not bear. Ants? Fuck, this is my line, okay? How dare you steal it from me? If you have the guts, try saying that again. Pa! Jiang Tian gave him another slap. Jiang Yunhe's cheeks were shattered, and a few of his molars flew out. Let me go. Otherwise, no matter how powerful your cultivation is, you won't be able to withstand my thunderous fury. Jiang Yunhe roared furiously. His eyes were red and he was incomparably sullen. The goddess he admired was just beside him, but he was actually slapped by Jiang Tian. It could be said that he had lost all his face. How was he going to pursue her in the future? Pa! Jiang Tian gave him another heavy slap in the face. Fresh blood splattered everywhere as flesh and blood splattered. Jiang Yunhe's cheekbones were all shattered, and half of his face fell off, revealing his white teeth and cheekbones. His head was dizzy, and he could no longer say another word. Most importantly, when he saw Jiang Tian's silent and cold eyes, he could not help but feel a chill in his heart. In that instant, he realized that if he dared to challenge Jiang Tian again, he would really dare to kill him. After all, Jiang Tian even dared to kill Daoist graphite and offend the giant sword sect. Who didn't he dare to kill? Is Jin Songfeng very powerful and domineering? Jiang Tian was calm and leisurely as he joked, every sentence you say is Jin Song Peak's young peak lord, every sentence you say is the master of the famous mountains and rivers. There's nothing strange about it, but you were still slapped by me. Jiang Tian was full of ridicule as he pinched his cheeks and laughed. If there's anything strange about it, it's that your face is thick enough. After hitting for so long, it still hasn't been completely broken. Ga. Ga. Jiang Yunhe rapidly twitched a few times. He was actually angered by Jiang Tian to the point that he fainted. This was too infuriating. Even the body and soul were ravaged, simply not giving people a way out. The entire place was deathly silent. No one dared to say a word and kept quiet out of fear. This person was truly audacious. He actually slapped Jiang Yunhe under Jin Song Peak. Amidst the deathly silence. PFFF. An untimely laughter was heard. It was actually Ding Lingdang who was laughing. Perhaps she felt that Jiang Yunhe was too miserable, so miserable that it actually had a strong comedic effect. Even if she felt that she shouldn't laugh, she still laughed. What are you laughing at? Jiang Tian threw Jiang Yunhe on the ground and kicked him away as he asked with a frown. Sensing Jiang Tian's gaze that was like cold lightning sweeping over, Ding Lingdang trembled. Ding Lingdang was so scared that her entire body quivered. She shrank back like a quail and said, I didn't laugh at you. Come here. Jiang Tian raised his hand and grabbing Ding Lingdang who was hundreds of meters away in the blink of an eye. What are you doing? Slap her. Why? Ding Lingdang was extremely wronged. This was simply an undeserved calamity. Could it be that she couldn't even laugh a little? He's looking for demon cores for you, yet you're still laughing. You have no conscience. Jiang Tian slapped her to the ground with a slap. This is also a reason. What right do you have? Tyrant. Ding Lingdang glared at Jiang Tian hatefully. If you dare to be rash again, I'll hit you again. I'm already giving you face by not disfiguring you. Jiang Tian raised his hand. Ding Lingdang was so frightened that she turned around and ran. She shrank behind Fairy Miao Yi, not daring to breathe loudly. Zen Master Da Xen? Jiang Tian raised his hand and grabbed him, then gave him 2 tight slaps on the face. Zen Master Da Xen was so depressed that he vomited blood. He roared, Immortal Master Jiang, I've been staying out of this from the beginning to the end. What right do you have to hit me? I'm hitting you because you're staying out of this. Jiang Tian said with a smile, why don't I give you a few more slaps to let you understand? Zen Master Da Xen suddenly slapped his head. His face emitted a benevolent and holy light. He put his palms together and bowed deeply, Immortal Master Jiang, thank you for your enlightenment. It's really as if you've enlightened me. I understand now. Everyone was speechless. Zen Master Da Xen, I didn't expect someone with thick eyebrows and big eyes to be so obsequious. What the hell are you enlightening about? Aren't you just afraid of being beaten? Fairy Miao Yi, Jiang Tian said slowly. Immortal Master Jiang, what are you trying to do? I've never offended you from the beginning. Fairy Miao Yi's face was cold and angry. However, anyone could tell that she was a little cowardly on the inside. Even her voice was trembling. Fairy Miao Yi had always been a goddess. However, if she was slapped, she was no longer a goddess. Why are you so nervous? Jiang Tian smiled mockingly and said indifferently, I can still distinguish between good and bad people. However, don't wear white in the future. Don't wear the same clothes as me. What do you mean? Fairy Miao Yi was confused. She glanced at Jiang Tian's clothes, which were almost identical to hers, and snorted softly and turned away. If you look too similar, you'll be easily mistaken as a couple. In other words, you're Dao companions. Jiang Tian said slowly. Humph. Fairy Miao Yi turned around and glared at Jiang Tian before turning away again. No one saw that she was already blushing because of Jiang Tian's teasing, and her heart was pounding. Towards this kind of cold and arrogant girl, Jiang Tian had always been in charge of killing, not burying, flirting, but not destroying. You can just scratch your heart and liver and scratch the wall. This blue-eyed toad is mine. Jiang Tian said indifferently. Are any of you not convinced? Come on, beat me, and this toad is yours. If Jiang Tian had dared to say this before, he would have been spat to death. However, at this moment, after Jiang Tian's words, the entire place was dead silent. No one dared to say a word. Everyone was already shocked and terrified. No one knew who this person was or where he came from. However, he was able to suppress so many peak leaders and elites. This was too terrifying. Big Brother Jiang is so domineering. He's invincible. Only Qiao Yingluo, the stinky monkey, and Qiao Beishan looked at Jiang Tian with admiration and cheered. I didn't expect that Master Kong is not only invincible on Earth, but also invincible against deities in the world of Yin sects. Yi Tianren's eyes were full of reverence as he bowed deeply. If you don't have any objections, then get lost. Jiang Tian flicked his sleeves and waved his hand as if shooing away flies. Chapter 899. Seeing this scene, Zen Master De Xian's face was full of bitterness, and his mouth also tasted bitter. Even Daoist Graphite, who had reached Foundation establishment, was killed by Jiang Tian. How could they have the capital to provoke Jiang Tian? But in the end, he glanced at the Black Lake and bowed deeply. I'll take my leave. Fellow Daoist Jiang, please be careful. No matter how unwilling and greedy the experts were in their hearts, how could they dare to say no in front of Jiang Tian's peerless ferocious might? They didn't even dare to move away many of their arrays. Who knew if this peerless killing god would use them? If they angered him, wouldn't they be stomped into flying ashes? I didn't expect that in the heavenly star small world, there would be such a powerful existence of the same generation. Miao Yi's pretty face was cold, and she secretly made up her mind. When she returned, she would go into deep seclusion and attack the middle level of Foundation establishment. But Ding Lingdang looked at Jiang Tian with admiration, and a fawning smile appeared on her face as she warmly invited him. Immortal Genin Master, if you have time, come to Xingdu City as a guest. With me bringing you along, you can eat, drink, and play for free. Beside them, everyone looked at Jiang Tian with incomparable envy and deep sympathy for Jiang Yunhe. Ding Lingdang was a person of noble status. She was a powerhouse on the prodigy list and the daughter of the city lord, but she threw an olive branch to this young man. Also, Jiang Yunhe shouldn't be too miserable. His face was beaten to a pulp, and the goddess he pursued so hard didn't even look at him. Instead, she offered a treasure to the murderer. Too miserable. Fortunately, Jiang Yunhe was still in a deep coma and escaped the more cruel physical and mental devastation this time. Without waiting for those people to walk out of the Black Lake, Qiao Yingluo's face was full of joy. Brother Jiang, you're really too powerful. Too powerful. After this, I'm afraid you'll be able to reach the top of the prodigy list and shake the whole heavenly star small world. When you return to Jadewell Peak, I'm afraid you'll be the great elder. Even the Peak Master will have to be respectful to you. Jiang Tian had slain Daoist Graphite, who had reached the peak of the Foundation establishment stage, and suppressed many other Heaven's chosen powerhouses. Once news of this spread, it would shake the entire heavenly star small world. The Peak Master of Jadewell Peak, Jiang Haishan, was only at the third level of Foundation establishment. There was a huge gap between him and Daoist Shurimo. If he saw Jiang Tian, wouldn't he have to rely on him to some extent, treat him like a god, and treat him with the courtesy of a national scholar? Peak leaders are nothing, heaven's favorites are nothing. Jiang Tian grinned in disdain. However, Yi Tianren frowned and said, Master Kong, I'm afraid that your massacre today will alarm heaven and earth Taoist Li Longyuan. Jiang Tian was only suppressing the younger generation of heavenly star small world. However, the real powerhouses of this small world were the sect masters, city masters, and peak masters. Especially Heaven and Earth Taoist Li Longyuan, who was at the Golden Core stage, was superior to Jiang Tian by an entire realm. There was no such thing as an airtight wall. Now that Jiang Tian, a young foundation establishment powerhouse of unknown origin, had appeared, Li Longyuan was bound to be alarmed. He would also conduct an in-depth investigation on Jiang Tian. For Li Longyuan, it was only a matter of time before he figured out Jiang Tian's identity and found out that Jiang Tian was Kang Taichu, who had killed the Taoist of Qing Xian. However, even so, Yi Tianren wasn't too worried. Jiang Tian came from a higher civilization. He must have a way to suppress Li Longyuan. However, as a disciple, Yi Tianren had to remind him. Otherwise, he wouldn't be a qualified disciple. What's wrong? Just as Jiang Tian was about to answer, a series of screams and sounds of fighting suddenly came from the sky outside. Yi Tianren was shocked. Amidst the buzzing and trembling sounds, suddenly, a dark cloud flew over from the sky. It covered a radius of 1,000 meters and enveloped the white swan and many other birds. The white swan let out a mournful cry. The attic on its back emitted thousands of rays of light, trying to resist the dark cloud. They're being attacked by mosquito beasts. Jiang Tian scanned with his divine sense and his face froze. He then flicked his fingers and said jokingly, "I guessed right. My guess was right, there really is such a vicious creature in this world. I told them to get out of here earlier. They're in trouble now. What kind of monster is this?" Celestial Leaf's eyes were like torches. He could see through the distance of several kilometers and instantly saw the dark clouds clearly. His expression changed drastically. The dark cloud was made up of ferocious beasts about 50 centimeters long, with large mouthparts and long wings. At first glance, the ferocious beasts looked like mosquitoes at first glance. Their wings weren't transparent like those of mosquitoes, but were made of flesh and supported by bones. They looked more like the wings of a bat. Moreover, they were covered in hair and were brightly colored. They looked incomparably sinister and made one's hair stand on end. Especially the sharp mouthparts, which were 3 meters long, a few times longer than their bodies. They flashed coldly and gave people a creepy feeling. They're here. They're called ancient mosquito beasts. They're probably prehistoric remnants of ancient Earth. Jiang Tian said slowly with a strange look in his eyes. How terrifying. Even the white swan and the jade attic can't resist them. The stinky monkey screamed and trembled in fear. At this time, the white swan and many other spirit beasts couldn't break through the tide of mosquito beasts and retreated to the lake. Everyone could see more clearly now. They felt their hair stand on end and their scalps were about to explode. The ferocious mosquito beasts danced in the sky like shooting stars. They crawled on the cultivators, giant eagles, and all kinds of swans. Their sharp mouthparts were like spears. Then, the mouthparts sucked hard and the prey immediately became skin and bones. Their blood was sucked dry. As for those mosquito beasts, their stomachs instantly became round and blood-red, like rubies. The jade attic shone brightly and many restrictions were activated. A dazzling light shield was released, trying to stop those mosquito beasts. But it was useless. The mosquito beasts flapped their wings and surrounded the pavilion like maggots. They exhaled a gray aura from their mouths at the same time. As the gray aura broke through the layers of restrictions, big holes appeared. Those mosquito beasts immediately went in and bit Goddess Miao Yi, Ding Ling Dang, Zen Master Dashin, and the others. Those crystals were instantly melted when they met the gray aura from the mosquito beasts. Many Tao patterns, formation patterns, symbols, and words flickered intensely. Then, they turned dark and cracked. Evil beasts, why aren't you forcing them to retreat? I'm going to kill demons. Zen Master Dashin shouted angrily and jumped out of the attic. He waved his Zen staff and smashed it at those mosquito beasts. Clang! When the Zen staff hit a mosquito beast, there was a metallic sound and sparks flew. But that mosquito beast was only sent flying a few meters away. Then, it flapped its wings again and charged at Zen Master Deshin. Its sharp mouthpart was like a long saber as it stabbed at Zen Master Deshin. This thing is so powerful. Everyone, retreat. Retreat into the array formation. Zen Master Deshin resisted and dodged at the same time. His body flashed and left after images in the air. Seeing so many cultivators fall like rain and more than a dozen of them die in the blink of an eye, he broke out in cold sweat and shouted loudly. Screech! At that moment, the white one had been stabbed more than a dozen times. It let out a sorrowful cry and fell from the sky. Its blood essence had almost dried up after being sucked dry by many mosquito beasts. Moreover, the gray aura was injected into it. Wherever the gray aura shrouded, it immediately festered and revealed eerie white bones. Kill! Ding Lingdang stepped out of the attic and floated in the air. With a shake of her jade-like hand, 2 strings of bells flew out of her hands. Instantly, the strings of bells floated in front of and behind her. The purple bells on them shot out beams of purple light that were 100 meters long. They sent many mosquito beasts flying and forcibly blasted open a path. Finally, after a fierce battle, everyone who had suffered heavy losses retreated to the original 3 arrays. They were all in a sorry state. What's this thing? Ding Lingdang's pretty face was pale and covered in cold sweat. Her hair was stuck to her temples and forehead. She was flustered and exasperated as she shouted sternly. Jiang Yunhe, what's wrong with your intelligence? Why didn't you mention this information? I've never seen it around the Blackwater Lake before. Jiang Yunhe's face was also pale and extremely depressed. After all, he was at Foundation Establishment Stage Level 2 and had a good foundation. After taking the healing medicine, he had mostly recovered and had already woken up. However, he was immediately scolded by Ding Lingdang. This monster is so powerful. The gray aura it spits out can actually break through the restrictions of the White One Treasure Tower. Zen Master Deshin's expression was solemn as he frowned. My 9 treasures Zen staff can even smash a mid-stage Foundation Establishment demon beast to death, but now, a piece of it has been corroded. Moreover, there are too many of them. Fairy Miao Yi's originally calm face revealed a hint of panic as she scanned her surroundings. It was unknown when it started, but the sky was densely packed with such mosquito beasts. There were probably more than 10,000 of them. They floated in all directions like a gray cloud, enveloping them. 10,000 Foundation Establishment Stage experts. Even if it's only level 1, will be exhausted to death. A cultivator cried out miserably and revealed a look of despair. What should we do? I'm afraid we're all going to die here. Many people were shocked and scared. Their faces were ashen and their bodies trembled. They were about to burst into tears. Chapter 900. Don't panic. Ding Lingdang swallowed her saliva and comforted herself. She said with a trembling voice, after all, we have 3 powerful arrays. We can hold them off for a while. Yes, release the messenger spirit birds and ask the major sects, city lords and peak masters to come and help. Zen Master Deshin made a prompt decision and said with a frown. Silly. If we can't get out, I'm afraid even the messenger spirit birds can't. Ding Lingdang was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan as she said with a frown. This cultivation civilization was still relatively low-end. There were very few teleportation arrays. Although voice transmission jade tokens and arrays had been developed, they were not popularized. Only in the major sets, there were a few elders. In the cultivation world, if they wanted to popularize voice transmission jade tokens, they had to build a communication spirit net as the foundation. The many spirit chi base stations in the communication spirit net could realize the relay, strengthening and secondary transmission of information. According to Jiang Tian's observation, there was still a huge gap between this dimensional space and the highly developed modern cultivation civilization. It was like an agricultural civilization that could not produce steam engines, or nuclear power. Also, there were too few humans and their thinking was outdated. Even if they were given another 1,000 years, they would not be able to catch up with the top cultivation civilizations. And now, voice transmission jade tokens required huge arrays and tens of thousands of spirit stones to achieve a single transmission. Even the young peak masters, zongzis and paragons did not usually bring them with them. After all, the base array of the voice transmission jade token was too big. It was a few hundred meters long and could not be carried around. Therefore, they mostly relied on spirit birds, flying swords and other dharma artifacts to transmit messages. I'll use the spirit chi paper crane. Where should I send it? Fairy Miao Yi took out a palm-sized paper crane from her waist bag. There were dazzling runes on it. Send it to the mission hall of Fiend Cave Mountain and let them send it to the other major forces. Zen Master Deshin said after pondering for a moment. Okay. Fairy Miao Yi nodded. She looked up at Jiang Tian and hurriedly wrote on the paper crane. Then, she made hand seals with both hands and chanted softly. As soon as the obscure incantation was finished, the paper crane flapped its wings and flew into the sky at an extremely fast speed, comparable to the speed of sound. Unlucky, why am I so unlucky? If I had known, I wouldn't have come. Jiang Yunhe took out a jade slip, and with trembling hands, he inscribed some words on it before inserting it into the eye of a circular array disc. Whoosh! The jade slip was like a rocket, breaking through the obstruction of many mosquito beasts and shooting straight into the sky. After that, the jade slip exploded with a loud boom. Clumps of golden light formed a few large characters in the air, each with a radius of a few miles. Father, save me. There was even a wailing emoji at the back, which was very realistic. Interesting. This kid likes to use emoticons when he's chatting. Jiang Tian's face was full of ridicule. Brat, my dad will be here soon. How dare you be so rude to me? Jiang Yunhe abruptly turned his head and glared at Jiang Tian as he furiously said, could it be that you're not afraid of death? At this moment, in the mission hall 100 miles away, a birdcage stood there quietly like a mailbox. Suddenly, a paper crane shot through the air and flew in. Boom! Light shone brightly. A few words appeared in the void of space like an illusion. A sect-destroying beast tide has appeared in the eastern part of the Blackwater Lake. Immortal Graphite and the others have fallen in the beast tide. Request for reinforcements, there will be great rewards. Fairy Miao Yi kowtows. Oh my god. Fairy Miao Yi is asking for reinforcements. A sect-destroying beast tide. It's too terrifying. Even Taoist Graphite died? Many experts in the mission hall cried out in surprise. They were dumbfounded and couldn't believe what they were seeing. In this space, beast tides would erupt from time to time. In the long process of fighting against them, the human race had already developed some customary words. At present, they were generally divided into 4 levels: Massacre Town, City Crusher, Sect Annihilation, and World Annihilation. Massacre Town was basically a deity realm demonic beast with the strength to annihilate a small town. City Crusher was generally a demonic beast at the early stage of Foundation establishment. Such a demonic beast had astonishing destructive power. With a breath, it could devour thousands of people. With a stomp, it could destroy a few miles of land and could destroy a city. As for sect annihilation, it could annihilate a sect. It was usually a late-stage Foundation establishment demonic beast, or even a terrifying existence that had condensed a demonic core. Or an early-stage or mid-stage Foundation establishment demonic beast, but their numbers were astonishing, like thousands of soldiers and horses. Within 10 years, sect-destroying demonic beasts or beast tides were very rare and could be counted on one's fingers. Therefore, when this news came out, all the experts who heard the news were shocked and uneasy. Boom! After hearing the news, the mission hall master was so shocked that his face turned pale and he jumped up from his chair. A sect-destroying beast tide. And Taoist Graphite has also fallen. Could it be that the blue-eyed toads have jumped out? He slapped his thigh and sighed, saying angrily, "I've already warned Jiang Yunhe, Fairy Miao Yi, and the others not to provoke the blue-eyed toads. They insisted on going. It's over now." "That's not right. The blue-eyed toads can't reach the sect-destroying level. There must be a more terrifying demonic beast." Next to him, an elder said in confusion. "But what could it be? After all, the most terrifying thing in the Blackwater Lake is the blue-eyed toads. Don't worry so much. First, send the news to the other mission halls, sects, cities, and famous mountains. Fairy Miao Yi has sent the news to us. If we don't send it out, we will be trampled to death by the heartless sect." The mission hall master of the Demon Cave Mountain hurriedly said. Boom! The arrays of the communication jade tokens were activated and a huge amount of spiritual energy blasted out. And hundreds or thousands of kilometers away, in the mission halls, sects, and famous mountains, the jade tokens were shining again. If one were to look 10,000 meters up in the sky, they would see that on the entire heavenly star continent, huge waves of spiritual energy were rampaging and gradually intertwining into a network. The news of the beast tide in the Blackwater Lake almost instantly spread throughout the heavenly star's small world. In the Giant Sword sect, on a huge mountain peak surrounded by a mystical aura, like a giant sword piercing the sky. Many Foundation establishment elders were sitting cross-legged and quietly breathing. Suddenly, the communication jade token on the side of the hall emitted thousands of rays of light, and a line of words appeared. What? A sect-destroying beast tide appeared in the Blackwater Lake and ate Taoist graphite? All the elders opened their eyes at the same time, and their faces were filled with shock. No matter what, Taoist graphite is our fellow sect member. We must kill the culprit. Someone roared with a face full of anger. Taoist graphite liked to cheat and swindle. He was black-hearted and had a bad reputation, so no one liked him. Now that they heard the news of his death, some people secretly felt that it was karma. But the Giant Sword sect was one of the three major sects under the Heavenly Star Palace after all. They were superior to many small sects and were inviolable. Now that one of their elders had fallen, the Giant Sword sect would kill anyone who stood in their way. They had to get back at them. Soon, rays of light that pierced through heaven and earth shot out from the Giant Sword sect's dojo. Each ray of light represented a late-stage Foundation establishment expert. They were supreme, and there was even a fake core vice sect master leading the team. The rays of light were like fighter jets breaking through the sound barrier, letting out deafening sonic booms. They pierced through the clouds and split the sky, and in an instant, they shot toward the direction of the Blackwater Lake. In the ice palace of the Heartless sect. After listening to the narration of a Taoist nun, Sect Master Lady Miayu, who was cultivating, suddenly opened her eyes. Her gaze was as cold as ice that had been frozen for thousands of years. Wherever her gaze passed, ice crystals would shoot out. She was very beautiful, but her eyes gave off a fierce and violent feeling, as well as a cold and ruthless feeling. She stood up, and her height reached an astonishing 8 meters. She was like a female Vajra, and her face was full of anger. That silly girl. Why didn't she cultivate diligently? Why did she mix with that good-for-nothing Jiang Yunhe? What good will she do if she interacts with them? You don't think highly of her either? Master, please punish me. The Taoist nun who reported was so frightened that she immediately knelt on the ground and apologized in a panic. All right, get up. Lady Miayu frowned and said coldly, you all guard the sect well. I'll go save that stinky girl. Her figure flashed and shot across the sky like a cannonball. Chi! A flying sword full of ice crystals shot out from the depths of the sect's dojo and landed at her feet. Chapter 901. In a luxurious palace on the Golden Pine Peak. Wisps of white mist emerged, the clouds were steaming, and the fragrance of medicine was overflowing. Jiang Haishan, who was as tall as a mountain, was soaking naked in a bathtub filled with medicinal liquid, trying to expel the poison. His face was as pale as gold paper, and he was sweating profusely. Every time he used his power, his pores would shoot out streaks of black venom like arrows. In the blink of an eye, the emerald green medicinal liquid in the bathtub was dyed like a barrel of gasoline ink, and it emitted a foul smell. This blue-eyed toad is so powerful. I'm afraid that even those sect leaders may not be able to kill it. Jiang Haishan stepped out of the bathtub and straightened his back. Suddenly, a surging wave of air pushed out, shaking the entire palace crazily. The floor made of gold suddenly sank into 2 shallow footprints, and even the lines were clearly visible. Jiang Haishan took the bathrobe handed over by the pretty maidservant and wrapped it, and said coldly, "Moreover, the poison is so stubborn. It took me 3 months of hard work and more than 10 high-grade detoxification pills to force the poison out. Congratulations to the Peak Master for forcing out the poison and recovering your cultivation," a guardian elder said joyfully. Jiang Haishan waved his hand and said with a solemn face, "You must strictly instruct your disciples not to go to the Blackwater Lake again. Those who violate it will be killed without mercy." At this moment, a middle-aged woman, who was still charming, wearing a palace dress and revealing a touch of white tender skin and deep breasts, walked in quickly. She cried and said anxiously, "Husband, it's not good. Something happened to Yunhe at the Blackwater Lake." "What?" Jiang Haishan was stunned, shocked and angry. "Didn't I order him not to go to the Blackwater Lake again and again? This evil creature, how can you ignore my words? Why are you talking nonsense at this time?" "I don't care, I want my Go save him," the woman shouted angrily with her hands on her hips. "How do you know how powerful that blue-eyed toad is? If I go, I'll be sending myself to death." Jiang Haishan was so angry that he stomped his feet and shouted angrily, "He's like this now because you spoiled him. He had only himself to blame. How many times have I said how powerful the blue-eyed toads are? But he didn't listen. Going there is clearly courting death. You're not going. I don't want to live anymore," the Peak Mistress shouted angrily. "I burned Jin Songfeng with a torch. Let's see if you still want to cultivate. What kind of Peak Master is this?" Jiang Haishan was stunned. He couldn't afford to offend a tigress. Then, he smiled apologetically and scratched his head. "Madam, don't be anxious. Let me think of a way." Suddenly, he had a bright idea and said, "Oh right, quickly contact Chu Yonghui. Let Chu Yonghui help. He is our in-law. Now that his son-in-law is in trouble, how can he just stand by and watch? His trading company might have some powerful magical artifacts." Along the way, he gave instructions to the elders as they flew toward the Blackwater Lake. At Jade Well Peak, Chu Yonghui and Chu Yunxiu quickly got the news. They were so shocked that they broke out in a cold sweat. Chu Yunxiu said anxiously, "Father, no matter what, you have to help." "Help them? How?" Chu Yonghui's eyes flickered as he said coldly, "I've already sent spies to check the periphery. There are tens of thousands of mosquito beasts surrounding them. Each of them is comparable to a Foundation establishment expert. How many Foundation establishment cultivators do we have? Just a few. Is it enough for them to eat? But Jiang Yunhe is my future husband." Chu Yunxiu's beautiful eyes were filled with tears. "If he dies, who will I marry? Marry the sons of the city lords? I'm not worthy at all." After all, the heroes of Demon Cave Mountain were scattered and unorganized. They could not compare to those sects and cities. The 9 peaks of Demon Cave Mountain combined were probably not as strong as the Giant Sword sect. The status of the Peak Master was also much lower. He was probably inferior to an elder of the other party. Although Chu Yunxiu was the daughter of a Peak Master, she was far too inferior compared to Fairy Miao Yi or even Ding Ling Dang. She cultivated diligently and painstakingly to reach the Foundation establishment level and enter the prodigy role. Only then could she be worthy of Jiang Yunhe. She was already climbing the social ladder. In terms of foundation, she was still too inferior. Those sons of the city lords and the elites of the sects would not even look at her. But I can't gamble the future of the entire Jade Well Peak because of this. Chu Yonghui heaved a long sigh. Jiang Yunhe was indeed extremely talented and had an extraordinary status. It was truly difficult to find a good match. In terms of ability and means, he was the best. Among the younger generation, he was the top of the 9 peaks of Demon Cave Mountain. He was not inferior to the sons of the city lords and Zongzi outside. If his daughter, Yunxiu, could marry him, she would become a phoenix. It would even bring great benefits to Jade Well Peak. However, Blackwater Lake was too dangerous. Who could resist a beast tide that could destroy a sect? Furthermore, the other peak masters were biding their time. If he went over, wouldn't he be accompanying them to his death? If you don't go, I'll go. In any case, I won't leave Jiang Yunhe alone. Chu Yunxiu was so angry that she danced and shouted. Then, she turned and rushed out of the door. Come back. You're going to die. Chu Yonghui was so angry that he stomped his feet. How can a beast tide that can destroy a sect appear so easily? Maybe even the great demon Bai Zhe will appear. Even if Li Longyuan from the Sky Star Palace comes out, he may not be able to suppress it. He said softly, trying to scare and coax her. Don't worry. If something happens to Yunhe, I'll help you find a new husband. How about Floating Spear City's city lord's son, Zheng Renwang? Zheng Renwang seems to have just entered the foundation establishment stage. Although his background is very good, his cultivation is a bit weak. Chu Yunxiu stopped and seemed to have calmed down. She frowned and said, Uncle Jiang Haishan has already sent out a distress signal. Jade Well Peak should do something, right? We can't be ungrateful. Chu Yonghui nodded and said, You're right. No matter what, we have to give face. Suddenly, his eyes lit up and he said, Oh right, I heard that Xiao Huayin came and brought an expert. Xiao Huayin came to Jade Well Peak and handed over a name card, wanting to meet him. But Chu Yonghui was a peak master and owned several smuggling companies. He was very busy every day. How could he take a small character like Xiao Huayin seriously? Oh, this person's surname is Jiang. His cultivation is just in the immortal state. And he's very arrogant and boastful. He can't take on a big responsibility. Chu Yunxiu said disdainfully. It's mainly for show. You can't let us Foundation Establishment Hall masters and consecrators throw our lives away. It's very expensive. Chu Yonghui said with a wry smile. Chu Yunxiu nodded and asked the servant to call Xiao Huayin. She said gently, Uncle Qiao, you've had a hard time. We didn't meet you in time. Sorry. Xiao Huayin was flattered. He quickly kowtowed and said, Greetings, Peak Master and Miss. You all have a lot of things to do every day and are very busy. This little one understands. It's already a great kindness to take me in. Uncle Qiao, we're like a family. There's no need for formalities. Please get up. Chu Yunxiu quickly helped him up and said softly, Where's Mr. Jiang who came with you? Mr. Jiang seems to have taken Ying Luo out to play. I couldn't find them after looking for a long time. Xiao Huayin said nervously. They went out. Chu Yunxiu was so angry that she wanted to kill him on the spot. But she forced a smile and said, Well, you can leave now. When Ying Luo and the others come back, you must let me know. Yes, I know. Seeing the murderous look on Chu Yunxiu's face, Xiao Huayin was frightened and left. After Xiao Huayin left, Chu Yunxiu gritted her teeth and sneered, This trash must be a liar. He lied about his cultivation. He's not even in the immortal state. He's afraid that we'll test him and give him away, so he slipped away in advance. It's human nature. Chu Yonghui frowned and said, There are too many people who want the protection of Jade Well Peak after causing trouble outside. But Jade Well Peak doesn't want trash. Many people lie about their cultivation. He patted the armrest of the chair and said, But this is troublesome. We don't have any cannon fodder. We still need to pick out a few immortal state experts to help. Tell them to be careful. Let them wander around the periphery a few times. Don't get close. Chu Yunxiu said. Back at the Black Lake. When Jiang Tian saw Jiang Yunhe's signal, he immediately laughed, causing Jiang Yunhe to roar at Jiang Tian again. Kid, you're about to die. I can't be bothered to argue with someone who's about to die. Jiang Tian smiled lazily. If it was before, Jiang Tian would have killed Jiang Yunhe with a flick of his finger after provoking him so many times. What did you say? Jiang Yunhe was furious and wanted to retort. Young Peak Master Jiang, the enemy is right in front of us. Don't cause any more trouble, Fairy Miao Yi said coldly. Yes. Fairy Miao Yi is right. Jiang Yunhe smiled embarrassedly, then looked at Jiang Tian and said arrogantly, for Fairy Miao Yi's sake, I'll let you go this time. You're asking for a beating. Jiang Tian raised his hand and gestured. Jiang Yunhe was so frightened that he hid behind Miao Yi. His face was pale like a stray dog. He was only a few hundred feet away from Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian's finger beam could definitely hit him with one hit. Ding Lingdang giggled, finding it amusing. She glanced at Jiang Yunhe with disdain. She only felt that this clown was like a 3-year-old child in front of Jiang Tian. Fairy Miao Yi's face was as calm as still water. She said indifferently, Fellow Taoist Jenin, these mosquito beasts are very ferocious, and there are many of them. You'd better come to our array formation. Yes, yes, yes. Fellow Taoist Jiang, we won't know each other if we don't fight. We'll be friends from now on. Let's have a good chat. Ding Lingdang said excitedly. There was a moment of silence. Everyone looked at Jiang Yunhe in unison, their expressions sympathetic and awkward. How did they become friends? Isn't this too forceful in making friends? A green leaf fell on Jiang Yunhe's head. Jiang Yunhe hurriedly pulled it off and arrogantly looked at Jiang Tian as he proudly said, These 3 arrays of mine cost millions of 5 essence spirit stones. You can't come in for free. If you want to come in, you'll have to lower your head and apologize to me,